Welcome to Making Your Miles Count Production, an educational program to all Canadian lease owner-operators with your host, Robert Scaper.
Well, welcome to Make Your Miles Count podcast. We're here again with Dan and Peter, and we got some big events happening, and that is, of course, the Canadian election that has been called. And we want to talk not just about politics, because politics generally is, this podcast shouldn't really deal with politics, but it has a huge effect on the independent operator industry. Tariffs and the whole thing. Lots of things going on that actually affect the day-to-day operations of operators for sure. And realistically, it can have an effect on whether people buy a truck or not. Mm-hmm. If we take a look into the future and we say, okay, this government is going to be ruling our country, well, some parties may be more advantageous to entrepreneurial independent trucking, and others are not. Like they are. We got quite a polarization of perspectives, and sometimes if we guess and we guess wrong, it can take 10 years of our life to recover from it. And so sometimes it's a good idea to think ahead and see what actually is happening, so that we can make a more informed choice and decision. There are obviously going to be a fair bit of operators. I would say for sure 75% of operators. It really doesn't make any difference who they are, who's in power. They're going to do fine. They're going to do okay. Mm-hmm. You know, they either got a scheduled run here in Canada doing something very specific, or they're in a particular industry that it realistically doesn't matter who's in politics. It's always going to be hauling freight, like concrete, for instance, hauling bulk concrete. It doesn't make any difference who it is. Most of that goes to export and stuff like this, and whether it's export to the United States or export somewhere else, I mean, things have to move, right? Mm-hmm. And so it may change considerably where things move, but in the end, trucks need to roll in order for people to survive. So.
I'm going to tell. I told you this story the other day, but just in regards to the mind frame of changing politics or politics changing, and how it affects, how you make a business decision. It was interesting. My wife was going through our office the other day and cleaning out paperwork and just organizing, and this is over 10 years, we're done with this, right? She came across a receipt or the contract she had drawn up with the bank. She bought a vehicle for us. She bought it. She didn't want it. She had her own job, so she went to the bank and said, I want this on my name. It's only I don't want to put this pressure on Dan. It's going to be mine. So she went and bought our black Jimmy, and it was great, right? She had that all worked out, and she went into the credit union on September 11th. The day of the airplane crashes.
2001.
2001. On that same day, she said she went in there and signed her name to I think it was a $15,000 or $16,000 loan. And she said it seemed a little weird, but she didn't let it bug her too much. But she had also seen downstairs there were lineups of people pulling money out of the bank. That same day, like she was committing to a $15,000 loan in a time where other people are pulling cash out of the bank because the world's going to end.
Yeah. Yeah.
We did fine. They did fine.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you just got to carry on through whatever crap is happening.
Don't make rash decisions.
Yeah. You know what? It could have all come to the end and they would have had some cash in the pocket and the bank would have had our... What do you
nobody
do?
can
You
really
can't,
guess
you
what...
You can't just stop life.
No.
Yeah. There are some things that you can do to minimize potential disaster, for
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
The number one key thing, no matter what, is being debt-free in your life. If you have no obligations to any bank, financial institution, on like no mortgage, no nothing or whatever, you are the freest person that there can be. But other than that, I mean, I watched a short podcast where a guy was critiquing a few different money people on money, and one was Dave Ramsey, and the other one was that Robert. I call him Kawasaki, but he's that guy who wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's not Kawasaki, but it sounds like that. That's the only way I can remember him or whatever. He's got these little brown, colored glasses or whatever. And the Kawasaki guy or whatever, he's $1.2 billion in debt, and he says all he does is he just, as soon as there's any kind of equity, he just pulls all of the equity out and he leverages and all he does is leverage, and that works until it doesn't. The minute that all of a sudden real estate crash or something horrendous comes along, he says his philosophy is, well, if currency is going to crash, that means all the debt that you have, like if there's hyperinflation or something like that, the assets that you bought increase in value and your debt stays the same, so you're growing. Okay, and that's the logic that he uses, and the problem with that is there's a whole bunch of assumptions that he makes, and the assumptions being that he's going to be treated by financial institutions the same way that he's being treated now.
Right.
Financial institutions, when push comes to shove, they will make sure that they lose the least amount that they possibly can. So if he has some value, and they're going to pull his loans, and if he can't pay them immediately, well, he loses all the equity in there. Now, if the argument for that is, well, they wouldn't do that. That's not fair. Well, wait for a financial crisis to come along, and let's just see how fair the banks are going to be. Yeah.
They're
like,
worried
no,
about themselves.
They look after themselves, especially in the States. Like, I mean, they're very, very independent there. Here in Canada, because we only have a half a dozen of them, they're much more regulated. But I still don't trust them either, from that regard. So realistically, the safest way, yes, you may forego sometimes building a lot of wealth, because you didn't leverage. Like if you would have bought leveraged yourself like crazy just before COVID, and the housing market just took off like crazy during COVID, you could have made a lot of money.
That would have been a good way to go.
But nobody knows the future.
No.
Nobody knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And if people think that they're so smart that they know what they're going to do, they got this great idea. For sure, I'm going to make a money. No, it's we don't know all of the assumptions. We don't know all of the different rabbit trails that things the entire world can trip up on one small little thing, and everything is upside down.
My philosophy kind of is there's lots of guys out there telling you this is how you can make a lot of money, and they're very interesting mental scenarios, but if it was that easy, then they would be keeping it quiet and making the money for themselves. Like, why hand it out? You know, and you look, okay, well, he's not as billionaire rich as he should be if he knows that market and he's got that wrapped up.
Yeah.
But he's just selling something, and that's how he makes his money.
Do you know?
That's
Dave Ramsey has a few programs exactly on that. He knows all of these guys. He knows Robert. I call him Kawasaki, but he's not.
Yeah.
Whatever. He knows Robert. He knows. There's a lot of guys that he knows, and where he says he's not just known them like right now, but they've known them for like 20, 30, 40 years. And he's known a lot of them. And he says where they make their money is actually not in the real estate or not in the things that they say and they advise on. Where they make their money is selling the idea to do it. So like they sell, like, okay, you come to my thing, you give me $500, $5,000 or whatever, and I'll show you how to be rich.
Yeah.
That's where he makes money.
And you
It's
lose.
not in what he's actually doing.
Yeah.
You know, because that's a much higher demand that people are willing to pay money. They want an easy way to to make wealthy or something like that. That's just not the view. And when it comes to it's a little bit on topic here because on April 28th, 2025, we're going to have an election in Canada. And if you look anything prior to January, February of 2025, the Conservatives were absolutely dominating, and because nobody liked Trudeau. And I think the history of Canada is very unique. We don't elect people into office. We like to unelect people. We like to kick people out. And so realistically, this is one of the first times we actually have a situation where we're not unelecting someone, because both people have never been in power before. And so we have to think completely differently. And I don't think generally the population of Canada is thinking very objectively about this.
No.
I think they're so used to kicking somebody out. And well, now that they didn't have to have an election to get Trudeau out, well, now they're a little bit lost. Well, now what do we do? Now the only thing that their animosity against government has now shift from Trudeau to Trump. And so they want to kick Trump out. Well, Trump obviously
it wasn't. In their head, Trudeau isn't the problem. It's Trump.
Yeah. Well,
So-
they have to be against somebody in order for politics to work in Canada. You have to find an enemy.
Well, we were talking about that yesterday, coming back from Winnipeg. Canada is so different than the U.S. We don't have a plan. Like it seems like anybody that comes in, there's not a plan. The U.S. has a plan. It's either for
they do now, I
destruction
think.
or for to make it better. Like now, Trump has a plan, where our government still doesn't have a plan. Like, I don't know what's gonna, like, even with Pierre. Like, I'm a conservative, always been, but he's been very quiet lately.
Well, it's not just that, but even his plan. Like he wants to. The one thing I do agree on is that to open up so that people can build more houses, because we need more houses. Okay, apparently, and the only reason we really need houses is because they brought in a whole bunch of immigrants,
Right.
and we didn't have any place to house them. Well, do you remember when we went to Truck World, and when was it? 2024, right? January or April?
23.
No, 24.
Was it 24? Last
Yeah,
year?
yeah.
last year.
Exactly
Okay.
last year.
Yeah.
And when we were landing there, by the time we landed there, my son was already there, and he went to the hotel, and they shut the whole hotel down, and we had to go to a completely different hotel.
Yeah.
Well, we had reservations and stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
But the government had sequestered the entire hotel for immigrants, which, I mean, if it was a time of war, I have no problem with it. But it's just a policy issue that they said, hey, we're going to bring a whole bunch of new people in.
Yeah.
And so we had to go to a different hotel. It wasn't a bad hotel. It was actually a nice hotel too.
Yeah.
But that whole concept of where government is moving huge swaths of people and its impact on our society is very dramatic. And I mean, that was a Trudeau issue for sure.
But it's been very amazing. Like when you drive across Canada now, like when the convoy was going on in 2022, people that were flying Canadian flags, they were ostracized.
Yeah.
They were looked down on. They were discriminated on. And now that Trump is in, now everybody's flying Canadian flags. Like, where were you before?
Yeah.
So they've been, I think the Canadian people are just, I don't know, they're listening to lies.
Lies. There are so many lies out there.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Like the guy that we have in now, like he started off with lies.
Yeah.
And
I guess the real question is, are the Canadian people, is 30 to 45 days long enough for the Canadian people to actually think through what's going on?
No, well, I think that's
maybe
probably.
not.
I think that's part of the problem. If you don't give them enough time to really find out all the problems, you'll vote in what you have instead of trying something different.
I'm an eternal optimist, and you can laugh at me for this, but in the Freedom Convoy, like Alan and I went to Ottawa for the convoy, and there was a poll done on January 2nd of 2022, where 35% of the population of Canada voted. Basically, they said we want the mandates released. So that meant that 65% said we're okay with the mandates, right? And that was January 2nd, 2022. On February 3rd, they did another poll, and it's suddenly 55% want the mandates released. Well, that's 30 days, and 20% of the population just snapped over to, we want the mandates released. An awful lot can happen in 30 days.
Oh, yeah.
A huge, all it takes is something to happen, eyes to open, and it's like a tsunami, and it could happen in 5 days, especially with social media. Now, Canada, there's a lot of social media suppression and stuff like this. But when it comes to truth versus not truth, I'm not sure. There's going to be some success in suppressing truth, but I think the media and government, and by that I mean the non-elected government, are used to having a monopoly on what's released to people, and they do have these bills where like 80% of your phone, for instance, has to be Canadian content. Like I get ticked off at my phone all the time. I don't. There's a lot of places like I don't know if you look at Google on your phone. But there's a lot of you got to find out who posted it on there. So there's like CBC, CTV, Global, whatever. All these Canadian outlets that are on there, and they're mandated. Okay, and I occasionally click on it because they start out something. Some statement or whatever, and it sounds like you're going off in one direction, and it says, "Well, it sounds okay," and it's clickbait. I know it's clickbait, but I wanted to see the rest of the sentence, so I click on it, and the rest of the sentence is completely a wild left thing, and it happens over and over and over again. So basically, if you're just flat out lied to on a consistent basis, the general knowledge is, or the general impression is, well, you can't trust anything that they say then. You have to say, okay, I'm not going to listen to any of this crap. And I think to some degree, when it comes to, I think that there's a lot of people in Canada are going to say, yeah, you know what, we're going to elect a new government. Most people at some point in time, they're going to say, okay, now what's the best opinion? If they actually go through an objective view and say, okay, what's the best for Canada?
Canadians don't think like that. The Americans do, but the Canadians don't. They're so passive.
I think they do.
There are a few, but
maybe not the majority.
But I've noticed since COVID, as long as you don't mess with my lifestyle, I'll do what you say.
Okay, but okay, just the moving of the mandates from 35 to 55. The only thing that happened was the convoy. The convoy was the only thing that exposed that, hey, there is another option. Hey, wait a minute. You mean we actually can get rid of our mandates? Yeah. Well, sure, then I'll do it. Yeah. It's something that came up. And so we don't know what can happen in the next 30, 40 days. And if something comes on that says, hey, wait a minute, here's another opportunity, here's another option or whatever, it cannot be stopped.
No.
It can't be stopped. If all of a sudden a real lie that has humongous implications for the Canadians is exposed by, like one party is shown to be an absolute gross lie, okay? Or huge implications on it. All it takes is one thing to go, wait a minute, I don't trust this guy now. Now I have to look at another option. One of the biggest things that, for instance, Polyev has been saying, or so, axe the tax, right? So what is what's his name? Carney. What does Carney do? He brings the carbon tax down to zero on the public thing. So when you go and buy something, there is no carbon tax. It's zero, right?
Yeah.
But we're truck drivers. On your pay statement, you have carbon tax taken off of your paycheck. We are all paying carbon tax.
Yeah.
But if that's one thing that the level, and I hate to use the word liberal government, but NDP as well, and historically even conservatives hide taxes too. But when the government hide taxes, they treat us like idiots. Yep. Like, okay, you know what? As long as the public don't see the tax, they think that we.
But that's the truth. That is the truth.
It works for very simple-minded people.
Well, see, what they need to do, what I see them doing, is they're covering who is the largest voter base that they can get to. Well, it's the average person clocking in and clocking out. If you zero off their carbon, okay, you've got their vote. Well,
but it doesn't make any difference to the price.
No, it doesn't.
In the end. Well,
but
moderate because they.
But you've got that. You've got 60% of your voter base that all of a sudden thinks, "Oh, you just zeroed all the carbon," whereas the other 40 who are businessmen still have the numbers in their paperwork. All he had to do was convince 60. This is a large market of voters that he's going for. But most people just think, oh, wow, he did that. And if you don't check your numbers, then you think that's what he's done.
Yeah, it's a shell game.
It is a shell game. And every time they open their mouth, I think, okay, why is he saying it that way? Because he's saying that way because that's the only way he can make his words not a lie.
In the last,
that's a real pessimistic.
Something in the last couple of weeks, there's been a report that was issued that Canada has the highest household debt to GDP in, I guess, the free world. Okay, which basically means that people in Canada in the last number of years have been living off of credit card, line of credit, higher than normal mortgages. There was one 75% of people's income were devoted to household costs, like your mortgage and your hydro and your heating and whatever. 75%. You know what? What's his name? What's Dave Ramsey say? That if it's more than, was it 25 or 35%, or whatever it is, I'm not sure the exact amount, but it's almost half of what's actually going on here in Canada, and that's because Canadians have either bought houses that they can't afford, or the costs of owning a house have increased unbelievably. They either more than likely they overpurchased, and the like, and in order to continue living in the house, they now have to go into credit card debt, line of credit, just to pay the regular bills in order to do it. That's the state that we're in, and to some degree, it has to do with the cost of living, like a house in there, but for your food and your transportation and stuff like that, all of those things, that has to do almost completely with government intervention, like taxes. This stuff, the reason why our stuff is so incredibly expensive is because we have all of these hidden taxes. And that's what people are not putting. We're in a terrible household financial situation in Canada, not because of Trump.
No.
But because, first of all, our dollar is down at 69 freaking cents for the U.S.
Yeah.
Well, whose fault is that?
Yeah.
Well, that's not Trump's fault.
No.
That was Justin Trudeau. Pierre. That's Justin Trudeau. When when he came in, it was up at around 80 cents or 82 or 83. That's what historically it was. Now at 69 cents, almost everything that we buy on our shelves, most of everything, comes from the States.
Yeah.
Now when tariffs come out and the north south where it's going to get really expensive, they're going to blame Trump. But realistically, the vast majority of it has to do with taxes. It has to do with our dollar being so low. We're the northern peso. That's really what we are.
Canada's charging huge tariff taxes to the U.S. for a lot of things, like Trump mentioned the other day.
Like
400% on dairy.
Dairy, chicken.
And 400%.
And poultry. Oh, sure.
He says, and I'm charging him 25, and they're complaining.
No, you know what? That is a shell game that I have a little bit of a pet peeve with, though. There's some good and bad. They're huge. The only thing is, our dairy and our chicken and all that, those are all on social programs. Like
the government.
The government
controls all of it.
Is control.
And that's what they don't want to let go of.
That's true.
Because that means the quota system goes away. And Trump tried to work
on his first term.
On his first term. And the government said not a chance.
No.
And now he's pushing that issue pretty hard.
See, and the way I understand it, our farmers would not be able to compete with the American farmers.
For the most part, I don't think so.
Yes and no.
You see, there's the way I see it, and I've done a little bit of just my own whatever. If you buy chickens in Canada or you buy chickens in the States, okay, our birds outtaste the Americans.
Well, that's just because we feed them differently.
Yes,
we feed them grain.
Okay,
we feed them corn.
Okay, that's part of the social program, though. Okay, they require a certain standard, which I am totally in. Like, if you want to eat healthy, we got birds for you, but you're going to get charged through the wazoo. Like there's no way around it. Our dairy, we've got a lot of good quality dairy.
Yeah.
Wisconsin,
we don't do hormones and all those other stuff.
They're regulated much in Canada. They're regulated much more than in the states. But in the States, you can't find a small mom and pop like farm. Anything we have in Manitoba here. Those are small mom and pop compared to what you see in the States.
Yeah.
Like I've delivered straw to, there's one in Iowa, one farm in Iowa and one in Wisconsin, and you start driving up to for miles, square miles, they've got cattle just free ranging as they cycle through their milking department. Yeah. Like it's astounding how large they are. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they say you have to go big or you can't make any money at all.
Yeah.
And like the government regulates all the Canadian cheese and milk and eggs and all whatever.
We've been around for a long time.
And they sell their own. The farmers are in charge of that.
Yeah.
Ours aren't.
But so that would happen here too. The farmers would be able to sell to whoever they want.
Yeah.
Yes. But it would.
Well, it's no different. Like we used to, everything used to go through the grain board,
right?
You know, and
but did they suffer after the grain board was dissolved?
No,
it went down a little bit, and then it went up.
They had to retool. They had to figure out.
I got family. I got family in farms, like we're farming and farmers in family, and they're doing better now than they were under the wheat board for sure. Mm-hmm. You know. The Harper government was successful in getting rid of that. Now, and that basically was supply side. They were controlling absolutely everything. Mm-hmm. And in Canada, we have to decide: do we want our own dairy and poultry? Yes or no? Mm-hmm. Because realistically, if we want chickens, and when it comes to health. From what I understand, like our chickens look white. You go to the States and they're yellow.
Yeah.
And that's because they do more corn and we do more grain.
Yeah.
Okay. But from a health perspective, they're saying they're identical. Okay. But the cost of a poultry in the States is half of what it is here in Canada.
That's correct.
Yeah. Well, no wonder our prices are. It's actually, you can probably do less than half, like down the States or whatever. So whatever we're doing, it's really costly.
Yes,
it's very inefficient.
Absolutely.
There's even like when it comes to milk, for instance. There's this guy who's getting famous to where he's either in Quebec or in Ontario, or whatever, where he had to dump 40,000 liters of milk or whatever in the quota. We do that all the time. I had a client who was hauling milk or whatever, and he knows what's going on. We're just like 8 miles from a very large dairy that we live. That's normal. When the cows overproduce, you cannot sell that. You can't do anything with
so
that
stuff. Part
you dump it out on the field.
So that part would go away if they got rid of that quota system.
Yeah.
You'd be able to ship that milk.
You'd be able to ship that milk. Yeah. You'd be able to grow your herd bigger to the degree that you can actually actually want.
The way
because
I understand
now you can't. You have to get rid of cows because you
exceeded your quota.
I'm going to have too much. I'm going to have to dump the milk anyway.
The other option, they say you don't have to dump your milk. You can still send it in, but they will give you you're allowed so much. If you send more, your paycheck will be less because they penalize you for overproducing. Yeah. So you're kind of, it's like stupid. Like why?
It's not like they give you 50 cents on the dollar.
Right.
They actually take it away from your your regular check.
Yeah. You're better off dumping it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's just wrong.
It's a government organized bureaucratic system. And our milk is really no better. Like when we were young, we drank a lot of a lot of milk.
Yeah.
Did you guys all drank farm milk?
Oh, yeah,
right? That was
absolutely.
before they.
Still do.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, not okay.
You can
Yeah.
delete it out.
If-
But
yeah.
yes, we do.
But that was really like real farm milk.
Yeah.
Like that tasted like. I
There was
think-
a cow nearby.
Yeah.
But realistically, I think my wife and we buy maybe a gallon of milk. No, we 2 liters every 2 months.
Oh,
So
wow.
maybe 1 liter a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
don't-
we only
don't-
just put that into whatever it is. Like,
Doesn't your wife cook?
yeah, but we don't use much with dairy at all. We have a fair bit of cheese.
No,
We do a lot of cheese.
We're Mennonites. We eat a lot
And
of,
butter. We
yeah,
have
a lot
a
of dough.
ton of butter.
Oh,
Lots of Veronica and
yeah.
pierogies.
No.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
but that's cream. We
yeah.
have cream. We buy cream, but
That's for the
not milk.
gravy.
Yeah.
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 But
Gravy and butter.
yeah.
Well, we buy cream. We buy cream too, and my wife makes butter, and we have butter on.
She makes
everything.
butter.
Yeah.
Oh, my daughter does that too.
Oh, that's
you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
But you can't do that with store-bought milk, though.
no. It's farm
Yeah.
milk. We
Yeah.
get farm cream.
No, you don't. We'll
no,
have to
we
edit
don't.
this out.
Yeah. yeah.
Yeah, we buy.
Or
we buy
the government's going to come and get us.
Yeah.
We ship
What
it in by the
country are
tote
we
from
in?
Quebec.
Yeah. It completely changes. It has a totally different taste to it, and
Yeah.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like it's very, 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 very different.
Yeah.
But anyway, like we live in a very regulated.
Yes.
And
And that's
society
what
social.
I think. What,
Now the entire trucking industry completely used to be regulated, and now it's free market. So now we have an audience. For instance, we have owner operators and truck drivers that we're talking to. Owner operators are we're independent, entrepreneurial. That's where we work now in the free market. So there's supply and demand, up and down. You get
Yeah.
good times, bad times, that kind of thing. We are way better off under deregulation than we ever were under regulation.
okay, so now if the trucking went that way and the grain went that way, wouldn't the dairy and the poultry go the same way?
There is a
They
natural
should.
tendency, a squeeze, that the world is squeezing out government control. And
And I think that's what
once,
Trump is working on, though.
Oh yeah, I believe so too. Yeah, there's a lot of things like
But wouldn't there be more like there's so many people that want to be farmers. Would they not have the chance if there wasn't that quota system where they could have 5-10 cows and ship their milk and make a living?
or not just ship your milk, but supply a 10-mile radius.
Yeah,
of the
five of your
people around
neighbors.
you.
Right.
Five
Your
of
10
your
cows
neighbors.
help all 5 of your neighbors.
Yeah.
And then the guy 20 miles down, he helps his 5 neighbors. Yeah, everybody gets to do a little bit of what
And
they'd like
you
to do.
swap your milk for some
But that's
eggs.
what they're trying to avoid.
Well, I know because
yeah.
then the government
Yeah.
it doesn't get their
Yeah.
their portion on it.
They don't know what's
And
flowing
They need to
where.
control. Need to control. Need to control. Do you know what? In the United States, the dream of everyone in the United States or society, I guess you would say, is own their own business. You know what the Canadian dream is? This was a joke for many years ago, but it's not really a joke anymore. Is to work for the government.
Yeah.
It's
That's-
your
yeah,
dream
that's
job.
that-
What is
your
your
dream
dream
job?
job in the United
Sure.
States?
Yep.
Own your own business. What's your dream job in Canada? Work for the government.
Yeah.
And that mentality
The
is
retirement package.
yeah, to get
That's what they
get
think
your
of. The
your
retirement
pension
package.
or whatever
Yeah.
it is in there, and the trajectory that Canada has been on now for over 50 years is unsustainable.
Yep. Yep.
So
It's
much
gonna
so that
crash.
we are so much controlled by government influences and regulation and taxes that it actually will, at some point in time, it will implode.
Yes, it will.
We're going so much. We're in debt beyond belief. Our living standard has dropped so much, and it's probably not. It's not fair to blame the individual government employee, but it is the mindset of the entire government. Just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and have more employees, and eventually there's way too many people in government, and the people who are making the money cannot support it, and and there comes a financial crisis, an economic crisis that destroys the value of houses, property, business, and so either we re-engineer our country right when we can right now and have control over it, which would mean get 40 to 50% of all government out of our lives, or in 2, 5, 20, 25, 30 years, it will be gone. And we will have no choice because everybody is completely shot. Even the government employees. They won't have their pension. They won't have nothing because the currency is valueless. Everything. So it's no different than managing your own personal finances. Either we take the hard choices now, or we keep having fun and pretending nothing's wrong, and then all of a sudden, well, now we're bankrupt. Now we lose absolutely everything. We're in the poorhouse, and what are we going to do now? Well, we're going to eat dog food because now we have to retire and we can't work anymore because the economy is shot. It is to a great degree, to some degree, it's the citizens' responsibility to say, wait a minute, at some point in time, we have to re-engineer stuff.
So do you think, with saying that, do you think that now, April 2nd, the tariffs start, the trucking industry is going to come to a screeching halt? A lot of it. We are going to be very, very slow. Is that when the people are going to realize?
How much is already? I've been talking to a lot of clients. There is a lot of slowdown already.
Oh, yeah, there
north,
is.
south.
Absolutely. But next week the brakes are going to come on. We have been very busy the last 3 months. But and then they say, okay, the tariffs are coming March 1st. But March 1st. So in February, everything came to a screeching halt. Okay, we were sitting at home for a week, and then all of a sudden, they pushed the tariffs to April 2nd. Well, now it's all hell bent for leather. Yeah. Now we're rocking like we're going out of style.
Everybody's trying to get everything before the tariff. Yeah.
Now again, dispatch is saying, hey, anybody wants to go before April 2nd. Yeah. Because we don't know what's going to happen April 2nd. But I think, I look at one of our customers. They bring all their raw steel in from the U.S. Okay, now they're going to pay 25% tariff coming north, and then when the finished goods are going south, now they're going to pay 25% going south. Yeah, they can't sustain that.
Yeah, no,
it's not going to work. No. They've already laid off a whole bunch of people because it's just like we normally get 2 loads a day out of this company, sometimes 3 a day. The last week we had 1. So
I know a guy in British Columbia who's talking to a business owner just down the street from him, 100 employees, and he flew out to Vegas, and he made a deal, and the whole business is all just packed up and it's moving to the States.
That's what this company is talking the same thing here in North Dakota. They're going to move the whole factory to the now all these people here that are out of work. They just built a brand new building last year. They finished it, and now they're going to move south.
Do you know why people are moving to the United States? The primary reason: lower taxes.
For sure,
and less regulation.
Well, you can't. Like, for example, I don't think we haul a load out of this company under $100,000.
Right.
That's $25,000 all of a sudden to the consumer. Yeah. Well, they can't pass that on to the consumer. Yeah. No. That's way too much.
You can't stay competitive.
Never. They'll just say, well, we'll make it down here, or we'll substitute for something else. Yeah. We don't really need it. It's a luxury, so we'll just kind of put that on the back burner. So these tariffs are going to hurt. They're not just hurting Canada. Yeah, they're hurting the South too. Yeah, because I talked the place where I got my truck fixed a couple of weeks ago. They build trucks for the oil fields. They bring in 1 tons, 3 tons, whatever. They put tanks on the back. All those tanks are built in Canada. And he said we went from just not knowing how to catch up to having nothing. He said all the companies that have ordered the trucks all put it on hold. He
Right.
said, there's nothing going on.
Mhm.
We have no work.
Yeah.
So this isn't just affecting Canada.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah.
affecting the U.S. as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of this, that's why the stock market has dropped a good, whatever, 12, 18%, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Depends on what day it is. It goes
So
up and down
what's
a bit.
going to happen here with all of this? Like, nobody knows.
Yeah,
But it's not going to be. Trump says it'll be a little bit.
it's rough.
rough
Do you know what
for-
Trump is actually doing? He's re-engineering the government,
Right.
which is different than reorganizing. Reorganizing is like, okay, you take 2-3 percent differences and you shuffle things around and stuff like this. Canada has been reorganizing at best. It's either growing, expanding like crazy, or reorganizing at best. Like, probably the only place where we truly got ahead was during the Harper government. And I'm not a huge Harper fan, actually, but he paid down debt, and he deregulated a fair bit, like the wheat board and a lot of things, and he opened a lot of stuff up. And realistically, it made things more affordable. It takes years to make things more affordable again. And so, but now in the last 10 years, our dollar has went through the floor. Our productivity and our demands and our housing and everything, we're just insanely upside down.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it affects the average citizen who is in credit card debt, line of credit, all sorts of debt.
Yep.
And it's like we can just make baby steps at most in order to get anywhere.
I think a lot of people are going to lose their homes now if this goes through.
Yeah.
Because they won't be able to afford it. They won't have work.
Do you know that I really do not believe that and I do not agree with tariffs, okay? Because tariffs are a little bit stupid on every level, because they're the only organization that actually benefits in a tariff, generally speaking, is the government, because it's free money that they get, right? It's taxation, right?
Yep.
There are some industries that it affects, like, for instance, the aluminum industry in the United States. Well, they now can invest and reinvest and become more efficient at what they're doing because they can charge higher prices. In Canada, like our shipping to the United States with aluminum is go through the floor or whatever, but they can sell it to other places too. Canada has a competitive advantage in making aluminum because we have electricity, and that's a huge input into the making of aluminum. So because we have huge resources of electricity, and we will always be the low-cost producer, and we will always be able to do it cheaper than in the States.
Right.
Yeah.
And they really should understand it. They're just from a geographical perspective, it is way better to like every country has its own place where they specialize in. Saudi Arabia with oil, and some place I can't remember where you build Colombia with coffee, or places with coffee. There's try and grow coffee in Canada. Well, forget it. Geographically, we can't do certain things, but geographically, we are awesome at other things.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where globalization. That's where if there's one geographical place that it's advantageous to make, say, aluminum, utilize that. Don't penalize that.
Right.
Right.
Correct.
And because I understand what Trump is doing is he's trying to bring manufacturing back into the United States, and I respect that, actually.
Yep.
Sure.
We should be doing that as well in Canada.
We should have built
them.
We should have built oil refineries to send
Absolutely.
to do that. That should have been done when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I was a kid growing up, and why are we shipping all this? We could do it ourselves. Build some more.
Interesting enough, this is a sideline right in there. Do you know that all of the refineries down in the States,
Yeah.
they are all tuned to Alberta grade
Yes.
oil.
Yes. Yeah.
They can't go to Saudi Arabia and get that oil and
No.
run it through their refineries very efficiently.
Even their own oil. Like if they drill close to or just North Dakota, that's not even quite good enough for their.
So
that's the way I understand it. Anyway,
they have
like
built it
what they
all
have.
for Alberta. So
Yeah.
so like Commerce or whatever,
Yeah.
they're going to have to spend tens of billions of dollars
Yeah.
or more to re-engineer all of those to change it. If they're they're going to use Alberta oil.
Yeah.
Like that's nothing.
That's
I talked to a guy from Alberta yesterday. He's running a lot with politics now, and I asked him, so big talk in Alberta about separating and joining the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think that's going to go? Well, he wasn't interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're trying to get. I guess what they're trying to do is become more business minded.
Yeah.
Like quit being children and say, "Oh, you threw the ball in my yard, I'm going to bat it back."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, no,
Yeah.
no. Like,
Yeah.
why are they not working with the Americans? Why are they just
Fighting,
digging their heels in?
I wrote an article in Over the Road magazine. I can't remember. Like it's coming out in April, beginning of April. Basically, I talked about when I was young. I was scrawny, thin, and whatever. And when it came to bullies, I just outran them. Like that's all what I did. That's all I did. And but when they caught me or whatever, the last thing you want to do to a bully is mouth them off and go toe to toe with them. Because a bully will pulverize you.
Yeah.
And so you have to choose your words well when you are grossly overpowered.
Yep.
And
Yes.
we
Are grossly overpowered.
grossly overpowered by the United States.
absolutely.
We are a tenth of them.
Yeah.
And we are doing everything backwards here. From an efficiency perspective.
I just don't
To
get
go toe to toe with Trump
Never happened.
Yeah.
is
the most stupid thing.
Yeah.
Stupid thing you could ever do.
it's all what it's going to do is we're going to dig our own grave.
Yes.
If we do it, there's a possibility that if we don't unify as a country for the sake of our country, not against the United States,
Correct.
but with the United States,
Yep.
and be more conciliatory with the United States. Okay, you know what?
Yeah.
We open up our poultry. We open up our milk. Will that eliminate it?
a huge part of it.
You know what? That's part of what's pissed me off a little bit is that our government hasn't even gone to them and say, okay, we've started working on the fentanyl. I think we're doing this good. We've got because those were the original and the immigration. Those were the two first things that Trump talked about.
Right.
Okay. When's the last time he talked about it? Lately. He hasn't.
Yeah.
No,
Because he's been able to divert our minds to thinking to other stuff.
Right.
Okay, look, where's our politicians going to him and saying, look, okay, these two things we did, like, and then being realistic. Look, we can't go toe to toe. We are.
We have to know our place
with a real bunch of grace. I'd like to say we're kind of the 51st state. We are the best friends, and we rely on the U.S. so much.
Without them, we are nothing.
But we are tied very tightly with them.
But why can't they sit down at the table and talk?
You know what? I think Trump would. I think the problem is our leadership.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
They think they're arrogant. No, Trump got them all pissed off that fair first. Sure, yeah, whatever. Let's talk about the facts. This isn't really. This is his game and show. Let's talk about the problems. How can we make our U.S. friends happy
and look at where he's going, where he's coming from, where he's going.
Well, Trump is also making that a little bit elusive so he can make his best deal.
Right, he's a businessman.
Absolutely.
And look when Kevin O'Leary and Daniel Smith went to see Trump.
Yep.
They sat down at the table and they talked.
Yeah.
And why
and
can't
know your numbers. Know your stuff. Like,
don't go there empty-handed
No.
or not knowing anything.
yeah.
If anybody would take my advice on anything, and they want to get a decent point of view politically, in my opinion, the best person to talk to, if they don't want to look at politics and politicians, is Kevin O'Leary.
Yeah.
He probably has one of the best things, the best perspectives,
Yep.
and he knows Canada.
Yes.
I mean, he grew up here,
Yep.
and he still has a house here.
He doesn't invest in Canada anymore.
Not very much. No,
He said no.
And I think rightfully so. There's much bigger margins in the United States than there are in Canada, even in trucking. You know, these 20-30% more margins in the United States than there are in Canada. If you could interline, you'd be making way more money than Canadians. It's just amazing what can be done. Maybe not 20, 30, but it is significantly larger margins.
Yeah. I just don't understand what the Canadian government is thinking. Where they're going.
They're
with
they don't.
They haven't taken
self-preservation. That's all they want. They just want their jobs.
They haven't. Yeah. Right. They haven't considered the Canadian population at all.
No.
Like they could care less about the people.
No.
It's about keeping their power.
jobs and their power. You know, historically, I've said this illustration quite a bit, but everybody knows IFTA, right?
Yeah.
IFTA, prior to IFTA, if you were a trucking company, you had to fill out the forms individually for every single state or province that you drove through, and you do individual reporting. So every trucking company had to fill out, 48 forms every quarter. Then what the entire, like all of the provinces and states got together and say, listen, how about it if every province and state received only one report from the trucking company, and then they forward all of the funds and all of the necessary reporting to the other states. So in other words, because if you were a trucking company before IFTA, you had to, if you drove in all 48 states, every quarter you had to write 48 checks to 48 different jurisdictions. Wow. And now you only have to do it one. Okay? But in order to get every single jurisdiction in North America, everybody had to agree to accept only one check and then to, disperse that one check into the 48 different jurisdictions, right? It took quite a while to get everybody on page. And I think it was, 6, 8, 10 years or something like that. It was quite a while. Do you know what the last jurisdiction in North America was? Ontario. Really? Ontario, for years, actually refused to join IFTA.
Oh, really?
They were the last holdout. Do you know what happened? Do you know how they did it? All other 48 jurisdictions said, okay, we are not sending you your money. The universe, 47 jurisdictions in North America were 100% united in one against one opposition, Ontario. And it says, we are not sending you your money unless you join this group. And they went kicking and screaming and yelling, but they eventually they joined.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, but imagine the hubris, the arrogance that we are not going to play ball with anybody else. We do what we want to do when we want to do it. Nobody is telling us what to do. That is the mindset of the Ontario government bodies, and it's not just the IFTA. I'm sure the people who had that attitude, I don't think they work there anymore. They've all got their pensions and they're all gone, and because that was good 30 years ago or 25 years ago. But the attitude is still there that we are going to do. They are their own what's called a fiefdom. Do you remember? You familiar with fiefdoms? That was it's a term that the Middle Ages had, where you had like, for instance, a baron, or I don't know all of the different things, but you had a lord and he had a castle, and he had a whole bunch of land, and you had a whole bunch of peasants, and he was in charge of that land and those peasants. And if there was war, all of the peasants all just ran to the castle, and everybody stayed in the castle, and they were safe. Okay, so he had near monopoly control of that particular land, and Europe and Britain were all governed like that, where you had these lords, and they were a whole bunch of, there's 100 or 150, 200 of these lords, some really very large, powerful, and some smaller ones or whatever, and they all managed their portion of the country independently, almost monopolistically. And it wasn't until a king said, okay, everybody, all these 100 or 200 people or whatever, now you're all under my authority. Okay, now that took hundreds of years before the power went to a king. But these fiefdoms had monopolistic rule over their jurisdiction. Mm-hmm. That mentality is deeply embedded in bureaucracy and government, where you have this one department, for instance, he has absolute control of this one topic, and nobody can do anything to dissuade him to give up any control or work with anybody else or anything like that. And that has been in our society since the inception of our country. One of the reasons why Canada, how do I say it? During Prohibition, when alcohol was illegal in the United States, well, everybody came to Canada because you could buy alcohol here in Canada. But we had Prohibition too. But the rules were different. One municipality, you can drink alcohol, but you can't make it. Other jurisdictions, you could make it, but you couldn't sell it. And you could sell it, but you couldn't make it or drink it. Everybody had their own little thing. Yeah. So you work, and everybody got their little cut of the pie all the way through. And that's why Al Capone came up to Canada to make it, because he would go to a place where they could make it, and it was totally legal to make it, and then he would drive it across the border into the States. It segregates power all across the country, and it makes it nearly impossible to actually be productive, because everybody has their finger in a pot, and it's like a huge quagmire that you can't really be very efficient in, unless you somehow or other you have a get out of jail free card from the government or whatever, and you can work your way through it. I've been working with Canada Revenue Agency for 30 years. The communication between the source deduction department in Canada Revenue Agency and the GST, it's like they don't even talk. A lot of people think that you tell one government thing and everybody knows. Absolutely not. No. There was a guy who just came in last week. I haven't seen him for 2-3 years. Okay, and he says, I went through a whole bunch of personal stuff or whatever. Here's 5 years. He hadn't done his taxes since 2019. Okay. And he says, I know I've been a bad boy or whatever, but here's my situation. And we find out that he was incorporated, but he hadn't paid his renewal, so his corporation is defunct. Okay? Mm-hmm. And so he says, well, what's the effect of that? Well, technically, the province says there is no corporation anymore. And he says, well, and so I don't have a corporation? Well, not necessarily, because you actually fill out federal forms for your taxes. and that's federal, not provincial. He says, well, what's the difference? I says, the federal and provincial governments, they don't talk to each other. You could technically have a dissolved corporation for years, and the federal government doesn't know, doesn't care, because there's no communication. Because you have a fiefdom of the provincial government. They're in control of something, and if the federal government has too much influence in it, well, they start shutting them out. And it's the same thing even within the federal government. Like I said, GST, income tax, source deductions. There's a whole bunch of different departments within Canada Revenue Agency. They're little fiefdoms.
Yeah.
And they don't talk to each other. They don't work like a seamless, integrated organization.
Yeah, they're just doing their.
They just
thing.
do their thing, and that's it's like they're looking through a paper towel tube, and they have no peripheral vision at all.
Yeah.
And that's what's rampant all across Canada. And realistically, it's what's causing so much inefficiencies and high taxes. Eventually, what happens when your taxes are so high, they won't be able to collect as much. They can raise it all they want, but there's not going to be enough, and the whole thing collapses anyway. And it's not one jurisdiction that it's not. You're not going to be able to point a finger and say, "Oh, it was this department that brought the whole country down." No, it's that same mentality all across Canada that the government has. Every department can grow their own department until the point where everybody is strangled. A little bit, you're nickeled and dimed to absolute death, and that's where Canada is right now. Yeah. In my personal opinion, Canada has been grossly overtaxed since the 1970s, and we've just basically been surviving. And really, this whole thing with Trump and the tariffs or whatever, that's just a diversion. Mm-hmm. If we don't re-engineer our country now, I don't even if I listen to Polyev, I don't think he's not a re-engineering guy.
No,
he is a okay. We'll tweak it a little bit here, a little bit, 10, 20, and he's smaller government. Sure, that's fine, but that's I think it's sort of like. I don't know, you know the movie Thelma and Louise, where you get the two women driving in this convertible and they go over a cliff at the end of the movie. Oh, you don't know you guys don't know movies, but whatever.
I heard
they're going 50 miles an hour and they're going towards a cliff, and they're just driving off. We're at the point where if we don't slam on the brakes, if we don't re-engineer we're beyond tinkering anymore. We can't. This country cannot survive with 2, 3, 5% little adjustments here and there. We have to re-engineer. Re-engineering, I love re-engineering. It's what Elon Musk is doing, or he's a continuous re-engineer. One of the greatest things you follow Elon Musk a little bit at all?
A little
bit. His rockets, for instance. You see the three different those pictures. You can look them up. The particular rocket engine, it was a particular design. It shows the picture of it. It's like lots of wires and hoses and everything, really big. And the next one beside it, the second generation, was a lot sleeker, less lines and stuff like this. And then the third one was even less. If you take a look at the third engineered, it has just as much thrust, if not more, than the first one, and it was a fraction of the size and everything, and way more efficient. And he is a re-engineer. He says, well, you can't be satisfied with what you have. You always got to do it better. And that means that you have to tear down everything that you're thinking about now, and you have to think completely different in order to do it. You know that, and that's why he's so good at Doge, and they hate him so much because he's a re-engineering. He's rethinking the whole thing. I don't want to. Our company, Making Your Miles Count, is actually we are re-engineering the independent operator industry. Everybody else uses the TL2 simplified method. and they have their way of doing it. You don't deal with your meal expenses until your personal income tax, and that's it. Meal expenses have nothing to do with your corporation. 99% of all accountants, that's how they think, and I talk to them, and they understand what I'm doing differently, but they don't change because I'd have to train the truck driver to do things differently, and I don't have the time for that.
And they're going to flag my company.
What's that?
And they're going to flag my company.
Oh, they could.
Yeah, and then they're going to investigate me. I don't want that to happen.
I don't want that to happen. And so
you take the road of least resistance.
Right. Exactly.
That doesn't work. I got to swim against stream.
Yeah, you have to re-engineer and do things completely different.
Yeah.
Just the concept of paperless, like a digital, a virtual office, for instance, is very, very hard. We are all, what do you call that? We're on the last stages, not Generation X. We are the old guys. What are we? Baby boomers.
Yes.
We were just on the last year, a year or so.
It actually was from...
We helped them transition.
61?
60.
60 or 61?
60.
Or 60. No, the cutoff, I think, is 60.
60.
64.
No, the cutoff was 60.
I thought we're 60. Oh, okay, that's a good...
Because I was just out of that from 62.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay.
So we're kind of...
I was born in 63, and I'm still considered a baby boomer.
Oh, yeah?
I think the line is 64 or 65. I think they're 20 years past the war.
45,
So 45
okay,
is when it
65.
ended. And so if it should be
65.
maybe
Okay. Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Everybody can look it up.
Yeah. Okay,
But
now I feel
we're-
bad.
we're
I'm not part of the baby boomers. I'm the youngest.
but realistically, baby boomers think brick and mortar.
Correct.
Okay, so they think, okay, if I have to go to an accountant, well, where's his office? I have to go there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
what do I bring them?
And what do I bring him? I put it into a shoebox,
Yep.
and I bring this stuff to him. In order to re-engineer the trucking industry to a digital office setting, you, as the manager, as the owner, I cannot think brick and mortar. I have to think, okay, forget that. I don't need a physical location anymore because now everything can be done digitally. Yeah. So that means long-term wise, you're driving down the road, and while you're driving, you pick up your receipts, you take pictures of your invoices.
After you're done driving.
Not while
you're
driving.
driving. Okay.
So you don't use your phone when you drive.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're at the end of your shift, just before you go to bed, you take all the pictures of the invoices, and maybe at some time you even prop up either your phone or your tablet or whatever, and you can have a conversation with your accountant and saying, "Listen, well, did you get this document? Okay, I'll send you this document with that," and you can do your paperwork in your truck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is a mindset different compared to throwing all of your paperwork into an envelope and then at the end of the month or the end of the year or whatever, come and go to your accountant. And that means you'll also be able to do year ends. You can sit there and you say, okay, well, your year end, this is how much would happen. We're looking at taxes here. How do you want to treat this? How do you want to treat? And you can do that all in the comfort of your truck, in the bunk. When you're going through it, you make your business decisions there. That is re-engineering how accounting is being done for this particular the independent operator industry. And in my opinion, it's probably one of the easiest to re-engineer because truck drivers, if they're going to do paperwork, if they're going to do business, it's easier for them to think and do it while they're on the road because they think that they're already working anyway.
Their brain is in work.
When they come home, who wants to sit there and fiddle through paperwork for 3 hours and do all of the things? No, you want to do the work while you're out on the road and you come home and you're in your home. And so realistically, the industry is naturally designed to be re-engineered so that business can all be done digitally.
Yeah.
Right.
And you don't need a physical office. You know, there's several clients that we have that I have never met them, that they have never met our staff. Everything is done by digital. We have clients, Prince Edward to Vancouver Island. Some of them never have met, and we may never make them because the year end, when we send them the documents, they sign the documents. We talk about what it is, send it back. We file it all. Never any need whatsoever to actually physically meet these people.
Our whole company is digital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you don't know digital, you're not driving here because everything is done by emails or text message or whatever.
Yeah. Do you know I did my master's thesis on the trucking industry, and this was in 1996, and I described in one of my sections of it about sending bill of ladings. Back then, fax machine, and faxing it back and doing this and showing like a perception of digital. Okay,
right.
Now, if you read it now, everybody laughs and says, "Well, this is child's play. You don't need fax machines anymore."
Right. Yeah.
It looks like some archaic thing, but back then it was wildly cutting edge.
Yep.
And we had I had VPs of carriers looking at it and says, "This is awesome. Is we're working on this and we're doing this and so I was cutting edge back then. Now that was before the real internet, even because 1996, and so the internet phenomenally changed it. And it actually changed more than anything is cell phones. Cell phones dramatically changed absolutely everything. Yeah. But that's it. So what the independent operator industry, what the trucking industry has learned is to be digital and to re-engineer. But do you know that if we had a regulated trucking industry, with the probability of that technology being implemented is very, very low. But there's no need. Well, why would I need to do anything like this? Everything is done for me. The government manages this. There is no innovation. Government strips away innovation just because they are anti-innovation, anti-efficiency. No different than Ontario fuel tax department says, no, we've done it this way. We're not doing it any differently. And that inbred inside the hearts of Canadians, that has got to change.
Yes.
If we don't become more entrepreneurial, we are toast. Yeah. And we're going to end up being like Mexico.
We can
worse.
We can already see the iceberg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going to hit.
Yeah. There are some jurisdictions that's really entrepreneurial, like Alberta and Saskatchewan, very entrepreneurial.
They're starting to brace against. Yeah. Can they actually, as a province, can one province rebel against the federal government?
Absolutely.
So Alberta could actually do their own
thing. Yes. Do you know the same way that Quebec almost did? If they had a referendum, remember when we grew up in the 90s? Yeah. They had a referendum. Yeah. Are they going to stay in Canada or are they going to go? Every province has that exact same right.
Yeah. So we're going to see some changes come from Saskatchewan, Alberta.
Could. If the federal government does not play with the actual provinces have more power comparatively to the federal Canadian government than each United States has over the federal United States government. Provinces have more power and autonomy than states do.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It is. It's amazing. A lot of people don't know this, and the federal government in Canada hates it, but they try and usurp it all the time. But that's one thing that Danielle Smith is very clear on.
Oh yeah, like she just had a meeting with
Carney
yesterday.
You know what she said in private, he's not going to put any cap on fuel, like oil and fuel, no cap on it. Then he goes out and he has a press conference talking about it, and he says, "Yeah, the caps are on." Yeah. So he says one thing in private, and another thing and she just totally called him out on it.
Yeah, I know.
He says, "You that's what you said. If you're going to do it, then there's a lot more trouble than what you."
Well, she named like 5 or 6 things. This is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, then we will take the law into our own hands, basically.
Yeah. And,
what she told him.
and it's amazing how much they actually have, legally, they have control over it.
I guess she's figured that out, and they're going to do it.
Yeah.
They're going to do it.
Well, you know what? For me, that I would have a lot more respect for Alberta. Well, give them even more respect for Alberta and Saskatchewan if they started making their own decisions and say, federal government, you figure this out.
Yeah.
This is how we are allowed and will do it.
Yeah.
And you can either work against us or we can become a more prosperous country.
Yeah.
Not that we're going to secede. No. We're doing this because we see this as the best for our province. But also, if you align properly, it's the best for the country.
It might take Alberta and Saskatchewan really bucking the federal government for them to say, you know what, wait a minute, maybe we need, maybe we need to rethink this whole thing.
I don't think they have to buck the government. I personally, I would, if they do have the right to do the things that they say they do, they don't have to buck the government. Yeah. This is what we're doing. Like when you have two guys facing off and they're big, strong, whatever, I look at them and who do you think is going to win? You really don't. It's really hard to tell. But I look in their eyes and the one that has the least fear, that's the guy I'm picking. Yeah. And why? Why?
Absolutely.
Because he knows who he is.
Correct.
And he's he respects the other person's power.
Yep.
But
he doesn't fear it.
I don't know. I know where it's going to be a tough fight. A tough fight is a good thing.
Yeah.
You figure out where your lines are.
Yeah.
And I think the federal government has been bullying too long. And the provinces need to say, you know what? We've tried it your way. We can do it this way. Let's make it a better. I'm a little pissed off with all the people flying the Canadian flag more now.
Yeah.
Because of Trump, not because of who we are.
No.
That's the wrong time to fly your flag.
Yeah.
No. We are Canadians. Let's make a deal. You've got a lot of the cards in the deck.
Yeah.
Okay, how can we make this? We've done the border. We've done the fentanyl. We've done this. Okay, where do we go? How can we make you happy? I know it's going to cost us. I know it's going to cost Canada.
Can I? I'll give an opinion, and we all have opinions. And if Carney gets in as Prime Minister, okay, and he does what he publicly says that he's going to do, like cap the oil and continue with the carbon tax and stuff like this. Okay, you're going to see several moves that Alberta is going to make. The first thing is they're going to settle this Canada Pension thing, and they're going to opt out. It's not going to be Canada Pension anymore. Now you're going to have Alberta Pension, the same way as you have Quebec Pension. Quebec is independent. Quebec doesn't. If you're a Quebec citizen, you don't collect Canada Pension Plan. You collect Quebec Pension Plan. It's managed completely separate, and so you're going to have Alberta Pension Plan, and then you're going to someday have Ontario. It's not going to be Canada Pension anymore. It's all split up. Now the numbers that they're talking about is phenomenal, like billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. That's what they have to negotiate. How much the rest of Canada owes Alberta, or vice versa, whatever the numbers are, that's going to be a big thing. But the next thing that's going to come is that Alberta is going to be collecting their own income tax. Right now, the federal government collects it on behalf of the provinces. And there's only one check that you send in at the end of the year, unless you live in Quebec. Then you send one check to the federal government and one check to the Quebec government, and the Quebec collects their own provincial tax. It's a separate department and separate checks to go to them. Okay, and so when Alberta, could even be Saskatchewan, and when you're filling out your personal income tax return, Now, instead of having one check to go to Ottawa, now there's going to be one check to go to Ottawa, one check to go to Alberta, and possibly, if my guess is Saskatchewan will go the way of Alberta, so Saskatchewan will collect their own. At that time, when Alberta then has control of the income tax collection, there is zero financial ties
to Ottawa
anymore. They manage their own medical, they manage their own legal. There's all sorts of things, and they're independent. And all they need is just a vote. And what's going to happen? There is right now billions and billions of dollars that goes out of Alberta.
Yes,
and it's going to stay in there, and the other jurisdictions, the other provinces that have been getting money from Alberta, suddenly are not going to have that anymore.
Well, like Daniel Smith said too, we've been financing Saskatchewan or Alberta. We've been financing Ontario and Quebec.
Yeah.
Why are we doing that?
Yeah.
If they cut the oil off, the pipeline off,
and you know what the key is? If they collect their own personal income tax. Because right now, the personal income tax, which is billions of dollars, first goes to Ottawa, and then Ottawa is supposed to send it to Alberta. But they use it as leverage all the time.
Yep.
And they say, if you don't do this, then we're not sending you what legally is supposed to be going there. But they don't.
Yeah.
They have control of that. So they're going to be independent.
But in that interview, or that, the interview, or the meeting that she had with Ottawa, she said, "This is what's going to happen, or we're going to do this."
Yeah.
But we're not giving you a choice.
Yeah.
This is happening.
Yeah.
Do you know that British Columbia did something very similar to that? A number of years ago, the provincial government said, "Yeah, we're going to do HST." Okay, they have PST. They had PST and GST, and they made an agreement with Ottawa, like Ontario, and like the Maritimes or whatever. They made an agreement that says, "Okay, we're going to get rid of our PST, and we're just going to do HST, and Ottawa's going to collect it for us." Okay, they did that. It wasn't even a year. There was an election, and the government flipped on it, and they went back to a PST on there. They lost, I don't know, millions, hundreds of millions. What that really does, I remember thinking, I'm a big believer in HST much more than the combination of PST and GST, because if you go to some place and buy something for your business in Ontario, you have to pay HST, and you get the 100% that back. HST, you get that back as in your business. Okay, but if you go to Saskatchewan or even British Columbia, and you have something that they charge PST on there, okay, legally you can claim that back. But do you know how much work that is? That is brutal. Okay, there's all sorts of different factors that it's way more work than generally that you get any kind of benefit for. I know, because we've had clients ask us about it as well, and it's no different than if you buy something in the States and there's a state tax there. You can fill out these forms and get your taxes back on it. Okay,
right.
But do you know how much work that is? It takes like 6 or 9 months to get it, and all sorts of things. And so, how much are you going to work for? $98 or something. So. But they did that in British Columbia, and they become much more independent from the federal government at that time. Now, I don't know what their true motivation, whether they wanted to be independent of the federal government, or they just wanted to protect the provincial jobs and so that they can collect provincially or whatever. But realistically, distancing themselves from Ottawa, that was the net result. And that's what Alberta's going to do. If they don't get if Carney is not conciliatory to Alberta, that's it. And do you know what the net effect that's going to have in Ontario? If the Ontario population doesn't realize that, wait a minute, if we elect the wrong person and that person doesn't work with Alberta, this country could split.
Yep.
Now, it could take 10, 20 years to get there, but in the end, Ontario, Quebec, and the Maritimes, they're going to suffer way more than if they deal with the issue right now.
Yeah. It's not going to take that long.
You don't think so?
Never.
I
give it a year and a half.
Year and a half. There's a lot of things that have to line up in order for them to do it. Like collecting their own provincial income tax. I mean, you just don't snap your fingers and do it. It takes a couple of years planning minimum, and that's if you're really, really fast. But we're talking government, you know.
The way the whole world is going right now, it's moving way faster than what we can't even hang on.
Yeah.
No, there's going to be major changes in the next year and a half. Major changes.
Yeah.
I just see that.
I still think the key is how many people in Ontario and the Maritimes are gonna keep grasping onto this hatred for Trump, as opposed to what's good for Canada. And
I don't know if I don't know if our countries are going to amalgamate. If we would become the 51st state,
I don't see that happening.
I think our whole economy system will go together.
Yeah, like Europe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now Carney went to Europe, and he says Canada is like Europe. He wants Canada to be part of the EU.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Well, it would be his dream. That would be it.
Yeah.
But so we have Carney who says, "Hey, we want to be like Europe."
Yeah.
And I don't know. You either give up your autonomy to Europe, or you work conciliatory with Trump.
Yeah.
I think Canada could be to the United States like say Germany or say like France is to EU. Like France still has their own elections, you know, but just from an economic perspective, they're tied with the EU. They have the same currency, and there's no tariffs.
There's no borders.
There's no borders.
No.
And that's really, I think, what Trump is looking for.
Yes.
No tariffs.
Yeah.
No borders.
Yeah.
Everybody has the same currency.
Correct.
And
and because he's got Alaska, going
Yeah.
through, you got to go through Canada to get to Alaska, unless you fly. Like now, Carney was saying the other day that he was going to make a toll road. Anybody that's going to Alaska from the
it's
U.S.
so divisive, isn't it?
Like, why are you not playing ball?
Okay, so
especially when you know the team is bigger than going to beat the tar out of
so
you.
he's going to do a toll road up to Alaska. Okay, all well and good. But then when Alberta and Saskatchewan break off, is there going to be a toll road that they're going to have from Ontario to British Columbia? Like, come on, guys, think this through.
Yep. Yeah, I
It
know.
is unbelievably divisive.
Yeah.
What they're trying to do, they're just playing on fear
Yeah.
in the minds and hearts of people. Oh my
And
goodness!
people are falling for it. They're just falling.
Yeah. Anyway,
Well-
re-engineering.
Yeah, that's what's happening. And you know what? When you look at the whole world, when Trump came in, the whole world is changing.
Yeah.
All the countries are they're all looking for that one answer, and that's coming. That's coming. I think Trump is accelerating this big time.
Okay, I got a perspective speculative question. One of the interviews that I heard Trump talking about, they asked him about the election coming up, and his comment was it was kind of a soft, aloof push off. He says, "It really doesn't matter to me. I'd prefer dealing with a liberal government.
Yep.
Conservative is fine, but
It'd be easier.
either way, why?"
Yeah.
Why would he prefer a liberal government?
He said the transition will be easier.
For
That's what he said.
If his goal is to get Canada under the United States,
Yeah.
and all one currency,
Yeah.
absolutely liberal.
Yeah.
Because the liberal are stupid,
Yeah.
and they're going
Okay.
to dig their heels in.
You know-
and our dollar is going to go down to 40 cents.
Yeah.
And then he can pick it up for a steal.
Correct.
See, that's
we're
the answer
decim-
I
our
wasn't
country is
looking
already
for.
decim-
But that's the answer.
but it is.
You know, there's got to
not
be a
gonna tell you
smarter
that.
reason. No, liberals are just stupid. No,
I,
come on.
I think
Okay.
Well,
no,
let's
let's
look at
battling
the
Trump,
Democrats.
battling Trump, truly battling Trump. Poilievre is going to would do a way better job than
And-
Carney.
Okay, so in saying that, what you're saying is Poilievre would probably make things tougher for the Americans to make a deal, or squeeze more for Canada.
Yep.
It may be not better for Canada,
I think
but in the long run, it would be better for Canada. I'm trying
Poilievre
to
would
read
I
the
think,
stars, right?
Poilievre would implement policies that would make Canada succeed. And
Yeah.
if Canada succeeds and becomes more productive and
Yeah.
more valuable, Trump can't buy it.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
But
And
he's already said. I've heard him say it twice now in an interview. Poilievre's not going to make it in. He said it the other day again. Poilievre's not going to make it.
if Poilievre doesn't make it in, I agree with him. I don't know if he's playing with people and or what.
he may be.
Yeah. No.
And it can change 3 times
Yeah.
before the end of this, but realistically, Poilievre will make it more difficult for him because
Yeah.
Canada will stand up for itself,
Yeah.
and the
If he's
Liberal government, by taxing the people more and by lying to the people more, it's gonna bring our dollar down because he's not going to give up then.
And you know what? That's what's going to take. And I was talking to somebody yesterday about this. He said, "What's it going to take to wake people up?" And maybe that is what's going to wake people up because they're refusing to wake up.
Yeah.
They're not seeing where we're at. Like going over the cliff.
Yeah,
They don't see we're just heading right for that cliff.
they only see their immediate
They
their
can't
immediate
look past
comfort
their
right
noses.
now. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're concerned just about themselves. Like, what about,
Yeah.
let's look at this in a whole.
I know. Actually, we all know guys who have moved out of Canada, and I know probably 3 or 4 other people who would either move down into the States in the next few months or whatever, or to Alberta.
I think I think you're either better off in Mexico than you are in Canada.
Depends how much money. The person who has talked to me, he's got a lot of money, and you don't want to go to Mexico with a lot of money.
Well,
But realistically, there are people leaving Canada. You know what? You know what this crazy thing is, and I can't. I'm getting more and more ticked off with the media, CBC and CTV and everything like that. They're saying, well, Canada hates the United States, and that's why we're not going into the United States.
Yeah.
You know, like snowbirds aren't going. Oh, snowbirds aren't going to the States because it's 69 freaking cents on the dollar,
On the
and
dollar,
they can't afford to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
they did that a while back when it was 72 or 74 cents a number of years ago, and they never said, well, it's because we hate United States.
No.
But it just falls into the narrative of this hating and and divisiveness, no, it is purely economic.
it's not. People don't hate the U.S.
I was talking to someone the other day, and their comment was they'd never go down in the States right now because there's so many lunatics that are just on the edge of letting you're from Canada and they'd let go and kill you or shoot you, or like there's so much. He felt there was animosity, and I'm going, I don't know where they're getting that.
Where they're going? Where in the United States are they going? They're nice people down there.
I understand there's wackos in the U.S., but just as many, if not more, wackos in Canada.
Yeah.
Like, no, everybody's not going south just because of the dollar.
It's the politicians that are
the
creating
tariffs are crazy.
Yeah.
Like all of that.
Yeah.
But I think 90% of the reason the snowbirds are coming back is the dollar.
Yeah.
Our dollar is being managed so poorly, they can't retire there.
No.
Yeah.
And if they piss off people while they're down there, then it's a good story that, oh yeah, it's the stupid people. Well, no, you just pissed someone off. Like I think it's more the dollar, and we can't afford to do what we used to do. Yeah. And that's pushing a lot of people who've been they're in retirement. They've done what it's needed to, and now they realize nobody else is working hard for their retirement, and our dollar is going to crap. And
I have a friend in BC. He lives, I don't know how many miles, just a few miles from the U.S. border, and there was always a lineup going into the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And he says there is no lineup going into the United States anymore. But there is a lineup of the U.S. people going back into the United States with Canadian product.
Correct.
Because they can buy things at a fraction
here.
Here, you know.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with our oil and gas. Like all of like North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, all of that fuel is Canadian fuel.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And so why is it cheaper down the States than in Canada? It's all taxes.
Yes.
There's all this hidden stuff in Canada with taxes.
Yep.
And that's the only difference. We actually have to ship it down there, and it's still lower in price down there than it is here.
Yep.
And it's just taxes.
Yeah, I did my own little thing. Like I run my business, and a lot of times I'll stop in Walmart in the States and pick something up. And I found a pair of pants that I liked. Okay, I bought them. It was a reasonable price. I came to Canada, and there's two problems. One, I couldn't find the exact brand or the exact thing to compare it to, but Walmart, even taking the dollar exchange into cost or into play, it was more expensive in Canada. And I know these two products came from China. It's not that U.S. made it or Canada made it. They were both China products, okay? But it was more expensive, taking into consideration the exchange. It was more expensive. And like you said, more than likely just Canadian taxes.
Yeah. It's the hidden stuff.
It's the
stuff that Carney says, oh no, we'll just, the businesses will pay the taxes and the people won't.
Right.
Well,
no.
It's like, come on, like are we stupid?
Yeah.
Of course, if the business
How low
pays
do you
for
think
it,
this bar is?
if the business pays for it, we automatically pay for it. It's not.
Yeah. Okay, so how do we fix this? We've been bitching here for the last 2 hours.
Yeah.
And that's what you hear everywhere.
Realistically,
nobody's got a solution.
I think the only thing is that a lot will depend. See, I believe politics is culture. What did they say there? Politicians are a reflection of people.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And
Correct.
so if we if you look at Canada, say 60 years ago, we were savers. We were very entrepreneurial and very independent-minded individuals. And we had a huge savings account. We were one of probably the top 3 or 4 countries that were fiscally conservative. We didn't have any federal debt until the 1970s.
Yeah.
Today, you look at it, and we are exact opposite. We're upside down. But it's a reflection. It's a reflection of the people.
Very much
The
so.
people have become more and more irresponsible and short-term minded.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. I think if individual people take responsibility for their own life and say, like, my attitude is a bad attitude, I got to start doing something different on it. And
but also
and the people collectively have to do that. Then the government wouldn't be able to get away with lying.
Yeah, but also back then, the people of faith, that meant something.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And as the church goes, so does the government.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
We hear this all the time down south. As a church gets stronger, people of faith rise up. More of this corruption gets exposed and taken out.
Mm-hmm.
And Canada is a very godless country, very godless.
Yeah, very.
And it's getting worse. And as that gets worse.
Okay, there was a point in 2023 or 4, I think it was 4, where the government started impeding too much on the family. Okay, it was either either it was LGBT or it was DEI, or I don't know what all of the stuff was, but one of the major sparks against Justin Trudeau was his affinity for, we would describe it as tearing down the family and bringing up individual rights that supersede the family unit.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's a Christian environment, a Hindu environment, a Muslim environment, when the family is attacked and the rights of the family are taken away,
Yeah.
that's where the sentiment against Justin Trudeau really took off, and it just. I would be wonder. I would wonder whether, for instance, Carney is pro DEI, for instance. DEI has got to be the most stupidest. It has wonderful words. Diversity.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you want diversity of thought. Equity. Well, you want, everybody has to have the fair chance.
Yeah.
Inclusion. Well, yeah, we want everybody's opinion. Inclusion.
You don't want to exclude
They're nice
anyone.
words.
Yeah.
But realistically, what it does is it promotes minority people who are unqualified for the job into positions of power. And that is stupid on steroids. It really is. Like Warren Buffett is not a big believer in DEI, okay? But it was extremely pushed under Biden, okay? So they had to use the words divide. And so in Berkshire Hathaway's minutes or whatever, they said, we will search the most qualified individual using or not using qualified individual considering or whatever it is, and then they use the word diversity, equity, and inclusion. But the way the sentence was written is the most important thing was qualifying.
Qualifications.
Okay? So they just gave verbal acknowledgement of this DEI. They had to have it in their paperwork, so they threw it in there. Okay? But they did not promote an unqualified person just because of their minority status. They never did that in practice.
Right.
But other companies did. They said, well, okay, we need this kind of a race, this kind of a religion, this kind of a this, and they promoted them in there. And these people didn't have a clue what they were doing. They were stupid, and then their results started going down the tubes. And then he wasn't even Trump wasn't even sworn in yet, and a whole bunch of these companies just dumped DEI. So it's stupid. So they started pulling it off, and it's because it's a stupid policy. You know, the trucking industry in Canada almost universally had nothing to do with DEI. They didn't impose DEI. If they had a DEI person or a manager or whatever, they certainly didn't have a huge impact on the company or for sure the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have 10,000 plus trucking companies in Canada, everybody competes based on performance.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to get that load there on time,
Yeah.
on budget, so to speak?
Yeah.
And so to throw something that is not performance oriented into the mix, the trucking industry, it grinds that gears backwards.
Yeah.
And well, if you start throwing DEI into the bidding for contracts and stuff like that, everybody go out of business.
Yeah.
Because it's the guys who are saying, "Oh no, we're just performance oriented. We'll just have the best person doing the job."
Yeah.
That's why because of deregulation, we were able to not really assimilate DEI. But you take a look at industries that are government and government really promoted people because they were a minority or whatever, and so they have, for lack of a better word, they have ignorant people that don't know what they're doing. They can rubber stamp stuff, and so, but you have terrible managers doing things, and it's horribly inefficient. So trucking wasn't hugely impacted by DEI. There might be some stories out there, but by and large, because we have so many very small carriers, we were immune to the DEI
because we're very performance orientated. That is a job that a DEI person isn't looking for. They're looking for their easy way up. They're not like, how many people want to be segregated from their families 200 days a year? How many people? Yeah, sure, you can make some good money, but you're by yourself. Like the demands 200 days a year, and there's got to be a government job away somewhere for me.
How many young guys do you see getting out of trucks?
Oh, you can't. Yeah,
I mean, they're of other nationalities.
Yeah,
but the people who are driving long distance truck, they're the ones they're hardworking, sacrifice, and really roll up their sleeves kind of a people who and those are standards that are contrary to DEI. Correct?
Yes.
DEI has nothing to do with productivity.
No.
It has to do with whatever else the flavor of the month was is to do that. So I'd be fascinated to find out how much DEI Carney would enforce in stuff. That'd be or how much even is he going to basically openly state, like Polyev did, Polyev said the most important institution in Canada is the family. Family is the most important, and the sacredness of the family. But if he starts mouthing off about this is more important and that is more important or whatever, and minimizes the family, I hope the Muslims and the Hindus and the Sikhs and the Christians all understand that, wait a minute, the attack on the family that Trudeau instigated is just going to keep right on going under Carney. And I don't know. He may be able to lie and say, "Oh no, the family's the number one thing. I'm a family man." Blah 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 blah. But whether he's going to be able to implement that or not, I don't know. I have no idea. He's not tested. He's not tested, and quite frankly, we have to acknowledge also, for the most part anyway, Polyev isn't tested either.
No, that's correct.
Neither one of them have.
Carney has more political history because he's been in. Well, he was in with the finances with wasn't it with Trudeau? Didn't he?
Oh yeah, but he was an advisor, And he was
Just an advisor?
in England. He was what do you call that? Central bank guy or whatever.
Yeah.
He's a banking guy.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
a bank financial guy. He's a macroeconomic guy, and without it, he is much smarter than Justin Trudeau.
Mm-hmm.
But if he believes the same things and implements the same things that Justin does,
Oh yeah.
well,
no,
you're going to get the same results.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like just the fact that he took the carbon tax down to zero for the public,
Yeah.
but he kept it in the manufacturing aspect. Like the trucking industry still
Yeah.
had the carbon tax. He is a true believer in the carbon tax.
Yeah.
And realistically, that has got to go. Not just that one. There are all sorts of stuff that has to go in order for this country to survive.
Yeah.
You can't just throw another a tax at the people and suddenly think that it'll all be okay. Absolutely not. Like
Well, let's see where it goes.
yeah,
We're going to find out here very shortly where things are going to go.
yeah.
'Cause
So what happened? What are you thinking? Take some time off on April 2nd, 3rd, or 4th? I kind of think it's going to be bumped off.
No, it won't be this time.
You
don't
don't think
think
so? No.
No, not this time.
I
I bought a side-by-side, so we're going to go play in the sand.
side by side.
What?
Oh, like a side by
A
side.
side-by-side.
Oh,
Hey, we got to go. I've got
You
one.
got a side-by-side?
We're going to go driving.
Absolutely.
That
We're
sounds
going to go tear up Sandylands.
man.
Absolutely.
I got to show you a trail we just found. It's almost as good as Alberta.
Oh, seriously? Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Anyway,
Nice.
that's a whole new
yeah. Every year you go out to Alberta
Yeah.
and go in the
Yes,
mountains.
in the
and stuff
mountains.
Like that.
Oh.
How many years you been doing that? 10 years?
No, it's 17 years.
17.
16 years. There was 3 years that we didn't go, and that was there was medical reasons, I think, but otherwise, yeah.
I've considered it several times,
Yes.
but guys don't have microwaves, so I
What?
don't. That's
No,
That's, I draw the line at microwaves.
Yes.
I don't believe in camping. Camping, I think, is
There
is
is
of the devil. Unless, of
Yeah.
course, there's a microwave. Then it's okay.
Yeah.
But if you have a side-by-side, then it'll fix the camping
Oh.
issue.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. Oh, nice one.
Oh,
Nice
What-
one. What brand is
It's
that?
a 900 Razor.
Really?
that's exactly what I have.
Oh, that thing's got balls.
Yes, it does. They're nice. And you know what? The nice part, I bought the side by side because it's a little easier than the four-wheel drive.
Yep.
And the 900 is nice because it's a little bit. It's more of a trail machine.
Yes.
Some of the trails we go in Alberta,
Yep.
you can't get a full size side by side down.
I looked at 3.
Yeah.
An AutoCAD with tracks, and another Razor.
Yeah.
It was a little bit older than this one, and this one. And the one I looked at in Dufresne was wider than this one. And I said to Kathy, I said, for the trails in Sandylands where we're going to go, I said, that one is not going to be, we're not going to be happy with it.
Yeah.
And so we went with the little narrower one.
Yeah.
But same size, like both 900s.
Yeah.
But oh man, she climbs and
Oh, it's fun. It's
I
fun.
have a Gator.
You have a
Yeah,
Gator.
it's not a 900. I think it's a 9.
And yes.
There you go.
It's got one of those dump things in the back. Like I haul my my firewood with it.
with. Yeah.
Good. Well, you can hire a little bit. You can haul a little bit of that.
This thing to listen to it run, it's like ta 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 ta.
Yeah,
ta.
one cylinder.
You can
And
hear.
you
It's just one
You
cylinder.
can hear the bearings going around.
Yeah. You know, we bought the grandkids have been bugging us for years already to buy something
Yeah.
because they race motocross to the boys, and they love to go to Sandylands, and we've done that.
Yeah.
But there's only Gerald has a side by side. It's kind of a farm one. He's got a box that lifts.
Okay. Yeah.
But whatever, it does a good job.
Yeah.
And but the boys want to go to Sandylands,
Yeah.
and they want more people to go. And Gerald doesn't want to go because nobody else is going except
Yeah.
them. So I said to Kathy this year, I said, I'm buying one. I don't care what.
Yeah.
And we bought one. Oh,
Good
I tell you,
deal.
those boys are excited.
Yeah.
So Saturday, as cold as it was, we went ripping around.
Oh,
and
did you?
played in the gravel pits.
Oh, nice.
You know, I got 80 acres, and I have not been in the back. I guess it would be about 60 acres, probably for 3 or 4 years.
Oh my!
Yeah,
Wow.
it's too far to go.
Yeah.
No, that's
And you know what? We
That's
have
cool.
all of Kathy's family. Everybody has either
Yeah.
a side by side or a four wheeler.
yeah.
And friends of ours have four wheelers, and they've been bugging us for years to
Yeah.
do something. And we've always been too busy running up and down the road, and I'm getting tired of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind driving, but I
Yeah.
want to have a little bit of
Yeah, yeah.
fun time
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And we haven't had any toys for, oh gosh, that's got to be 12 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last
Yeah.
tour you had probably
Our
your
motorcycles.
Harley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. What was it? Last year we had our friends out, and I borrowed Lonnie's side by side, which is almost identical to mine. And we borrowed his, and the four of us went out into Sandylands, just trail ride and slow.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
You don't want to
and
tear.
Melinda packed a lunch. Halfway
Oh.
through there, it was a nice, warm, sunny day. We still had jackets, but it was, I'll tell you what's really nice. Instead of when you're picnicking somewhere, pull the seats out of there, set it on the ground, and you've got the best recliner. You don't have to bring any.
Pull the seats out of there.
Pull the seats out of the side by side.
Aren't they
Like-
bolted in?
No, they're on a latch.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, they latch out. Okay, you can take them out in 30 seconds
Oh, my goodness.
because underneath your driver's seat is where your battery is.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, I haven't found
So,
that yet. I found
Yeah,
everything else.
you pull them out, put them on the sand. You're only sitting that far off the ground, but you sit back and recline. You've got a headrest, armrest.
These seats are very comfortable.
Yeah.
Really comfortable.
So you don't need to pack chairs or anything. You've got
Do you have
them
a
right
front
along.
windshield and a back windshield?
I just have a half windshield up front.
And nothing in the back?
Nothing in the back. No.
Don't you get a real bad swirl?
I get the air comes up, and because of the half, it comes just over my visor on my, like just over my head. So I don't get nothing coming back. No.
I got a full windshield in the front, and
Yeah.
my goodness, we were plucking sand out of our eyes all day yesterday.
Yeah.
Yet.
No, mine goes straight through. The only thing I don't like is if you're tearing through puddles, the top half you get the mud and the water in the face.
Okay.
Lonnie's got a full shield,
Yeah.
and he just keeps going, but it gets so dirty. I can't. I'm a little OCD.
I'm gonna put a windshield in the back.
Yeah, that
get
would
rid of that.
that could probably help. Yeah.
Now I've got
And
the-
all that
the
needs
doors
is just go to the lumber yard and get some plexiglass.
and cut your own.
Cut it out yourself. Yeah.
Gotta be a little creative with that.
Yeah.
I guess. Make
But
a
it-
mold out of cardboard and.
Yeah, no, because it's
'Cause I have a-
it's just little bolts, and it's not something. All you need is something to stop the wind.
Right.
And if you're not looking through, like you're not looking back, then you can almost stretch a tarp across there.
Yeah.
Like
I
it's-
put side mirrors on already.
Okay.
'Cause
Yeah.
I have the long mirror.
Yeah.
You
I'm
have
a truck
blinkers?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
No.
You got
I
your
have brake
routine,
lights.
right? Yeah.
But I bought the mirrors. They were only $49
Right,
for a
yeah.
set from Amazon. And
Blinkers in the bush.
You
I
should
put them on.
have a spare one because if you clip it with the.
Yeah.
they're on a spring.
Oh.
They,
Okay.
they spring back.
Yeah.
There are
Till
there,
they don't.
there are a lot of truckers who enjoy camping. There's a
Yeah.
lot of them.
Yeah.
Well, just so you know, Rob, the last few years we've gone out there, and a friend of mine has brought his camper.
Yeah.
So we're inside warm. You still have to maybe go sit in the creek to shower up, but otherwise, yeah, it's gotten pretty poshy, and I don't know if I'd go back to a tent. Not at 62.
Do you have microwave in there? Yeah. Probably.
There's a microwave. Yeah, but we cook on Mark brings his big griddle. Like he's got this big fancy. He makes big breakfast and all our food. Oh, yeah. We don't even need a
Take a generator along.
microwave.
Yeah. Yeah. They have generators. Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys.
Oh yeah, everything's powered. Like, oh yeah, from the first years, it was pretty primitive. I just about didn't look. No, I wouldn't go back. Not to tenting on the ground. Oh
No.
Remember the first years you
Especially-
had a microwave in your truck? Do you remember?
yeah,
No.
That was awesome.
We
that
have a
was
toaster
amazing.
oven in ours. We don't have a microwave.
No?
No. This way we can toast, make toast,
Oh,
Yeah,
and it's nice sandwiches, toasted sandwiches.
toast. Oh, that would be nice.
And you know what? It
Yeah.
takes like 5 minutes,
Yeah,
and it's brown.
yeah.
How much do you spend on meals when on the road?
You want me to be honest? Zero.
Oh,
We don't even buy coffee.
No.
Nothing.
So
We
you
spend
haul
$0.
everything yourself.
We have $0 in. If I take out $200, that'll last me like 2 months, 3 months,
Oh,
Wow.
unless I buy
So-
something that
so
I
you-
need.
Yeah.
Before you leave, you pull out a whole bunch of stuff. You put it into a
Kathy
fridge.
has
in
food for 7 days.
7 days.
Yep. And I have a Keurig machine,
Mm-hmm.
and we carry a 5-gallon bottle of water with a pump,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
and bring we buy boxes of coffee at Costco,
Sure.
Yeah.
and so it does cost us,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
we
yeah.
spend zero money on the road.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
So
is
how does
very
that?
expensive?
Because technically, you're not allowed to bring meat or
No,
vegetables.
we don't bring nothing raw.
Okay.
No, we don't.
So
bring
it's
anything
all
raw.
pre-made.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
all
okay.
pre-made meals. Yeah.
Like
Oh
what?
yeah.
Oh man, pierogies, spaghetti, macaroni.
Do you
all
like
kinds.
canned stuff? Did you open cans?
No,
or-
no. It's all pre-made.
It's sort of like a leftover type
Kathy
wrapped
will
up
spend a
stuff.
whole day or two just making meals, and
Yeah.
we have these little containers,
Mm-hmm.
and she puts them in the freezer, and then she doesn't even have to cook every time we come home, and she has a way of stacking it in the fridge,
Yeah.
in the cooler,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah. we
So
have
then you
cream.
take a bunch of them, you put them in the fridge, and then
Yeah.
and
For 7 days,
for
we
7
we
days?
have one meal will give us 2 days.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like you'll have it for lunch and then the next day maybe for supper, so you don't have to have it the same
Right.
day.
Yeah.
And and then we have room for cream in there. So we have a tall cream, and sugar I have on the top in cubes. And
Boy, that has changed.
you know what?
In 30
we used to
years,
have
eh?
to fill up my
That's-
thermos in the evening, so I had coffee in the morning. Now I
Yeah.
have fresh coffee.
Yeah.
Guys, come to the door.
wow.
Oh, that smells good.
Yeah.
You want a coffee?
Yeah. Yeah. That
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It is awesome. Yeah.
I need.
Meals, even not on the road, but just meals locally. Like
Mhm.
I if I go out for lunch or dinner or breakfast, even.
Yeah.
Me and Alan go quite a bit, 2-3 times a week or whatever, and it's generally between $35 and $40.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Could be $45, $47 even.
Yeah.
Depends
Yeah.
what way. And that's expensive.
Yeah.
Like I mean, if you are on the road,
I can't
you
imagine.
have got to start
Yeah.
thinking ahead.
Yeah.
And because easily $1,000.
There's
in
a
month.
truck stop in Louisiana, a TA truck stop, a Petra truck stop on I-10.
Hmm.
We were there just 3 weeks ago. They are now putting up gates. So you have to pay, if you're coming for the night,
Mhm.
you have to pay $35
Yeah.
for the night. Every truck, $35
Yeah.
a night.
Really
Yep.
truck parking.
If you're just going in for fuel, you don't have to.
Yeah.
If you're going in for fuel, then I think it's $20 a night.
Right.
oh
yeah.
my goodness.
But if you're just coming in to sleep, 35. And now you're starting to see that in Memphis
Yeah.
at the Petro, at the TAs, the
Yeah.
reserve parking. You have to pay for parking.
Yeah.
It's getting expensive. So
It
now
is.
the highways are lined on overpasses, like
Yeah.
off
Yeah,
ramps, all
it's
ramps for
stupid.
trucks.
Yeah.
I was in Houston a couple weeks ago. Yeah, quite a few weeks ago. Anyways, and I was trying to get close to my unload, and the close was a Flying J, and I figured, well, I'll just. They have room for reserve parking, but I figured, usually there's a couple empty. This whole freaking parking lot was reserved. You could not
Whoa.
park. There was not a free spot. So I had to pay I think it was $24.
Yep. Atlanta,
For-
the same thing. They have a booth. When you come in, you have
Yeah.
to pay. If you buy something, this is years ago when we stopped there.
Yeah.
If you buy something for $20, you
Yeah.
show the receipt, at the gate, and then they'll give you your $20 back.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But that's probably
What was it?
Now.
I
And
did.
that's the reason they're doing it, because they've done away with all the restaurants.
Yeah.
And people don't want to eat fast food, so they're making their own meals. See people barbecuing.
Oh, sure.
in parking lots and
Yeah.
in rest areas.
They've done
You
it
see guys
to themselves, really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they've just priced themselves out of.
Yeah.
Out of a job.
But
Yeah.
I was thinking at $20 a truck, and I think the parking lot I was in, I estimated it'd be somewhere around 250 trucks.
Yep. But
At
every
a
Love's
year-
has 200.
In a year, just some quick. It was $1.5 million just on parking.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how does that cover their taxes?
Oh, yeah.
How much? $1.5 million?
You look at one night, 250 trucks.
Yeah.
At $35 a night is $8,750
Yeah.
a night.
Yeah.
Times 30 is $262,000 a month.
Yeah. 206. Yeah, that's $250,000.
That's over $250,000
You're
a
looking
month.
at $3 million or more than $3 million a year.
Times
12.
12. 3.150 million.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
Just
money.
in parking.
Just in parking,
Just in
yeah.
parking.
And that, yeah, all you have to do is patch the pavement a little bit. Maybe down south you have to do it a little more often, because the pavement gets soft in the summertime. You start making corners, that tears up that pavement pretty bad.
Yeah, but they haven't fixed their parking lots in years.
No.
Yeah.
Well, this one I was right in Houston, and it had a pretty nice parking lot, and they were setting up a brand the construction. They were building a new maintenance facility where you could do oil changes and whatnot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right in the middle of their whole parking lot, so it was taking up a bunch of parking. But
We pulled in at a TA truck stop in we're West Virginia, I think it was, and I pulled in at about 4 o'clock in the morning. Just had like 2 or 3 hours of sleep to get down to the customer, and I get up in the morning and there's all kinds of guys talking. I think, what in the world? And so I look out, and these guys are spreading oil, stuff you soak up oil with, like
that cat litter stuff or powder. Yeah,
they had big wheelbarrows full of the stuff and shoveling it. I said, "What are you guys doing?" He said, "Some idiot changed oil here again. Just opened up the plug and let 44 liters of oil.
Oh my word!
11 gallons of oil onto the ground."
Holy.
And they stop at a Walmart or whatever, pick up 2 pails of
oil
and just go to the truck stop at night and pull the plug, and away they go. And these guys had to clean it up.
Oh my word.
He said this happening more and more regular all the time.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Well, oil changes are expensive.
Shoot, man, you can't afford it.
Oh, wow.
I looked at it. I won't say the place, but in Blumenort, I was going to change my diff oil, okay, for synthetic gear oil, $500 for 5 gallons.
Holy crap!
I said, "Are you guys out of your rabbit ass mind?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the heck is this stuff made of?"
Yeah.
But,
well, I had to do some work on my. I got a VW diesel Jetta, not a Jetta, Touareg. Transmission, so I had to replace the one of the cooler went, so I had to replace that and then top up. Took 4 liters of transmission oil, and it takes special oil. It was $89 a liter.
whoa.
Just
I got to do my transmission on my Jetta again.
yeah.
And I think it's time for me to do the timing belt again.
We'll do that quick, because our son prolonged it. You're supposed to do it at 100,000 kilometers, and his belt went, and he blew the engine.
Oh.
Pushed a cylinder or
was it
valve.
diesel?
No.
No, just regular.
Yeah. Valve through the piston.
Yeah, this is it's time. I have a chart to do it all. It's time for doing actually both the belt and like the timing belt and the but when it comes to VWs, like their transmissions, great transmissions, but very expensive to do the transmission oil. It has to be a certain temperature. It has to be running.
Yeah, that's
there's all
weird.
sorts of stuff.
Yeah, there's no dipstick.
They've
got
no
a
dipstick.
No, the guy who did the work for me, he had never done that. Hey,
is that a standard?
No, it's automatic.
And no, you need to get somebody who really knows how to do it, because it's a 4 or 5 hour job. It's like it's not it's not the same.
He had to buy a special thing for filling up the oil in the transmission too. And then you fill it till it doesn't pour out anymore, and then but to get it in there, it's a special way of injecting it, and it like whoa.
Yeah, if you have any kind of a VW diesel or whatever, you need to have a mechanic that knows that stuff. And
where do you send your?
Well, the guy that I have historically always used.
Yeah.
He's really good, but trying to get a hold of the guy is
okay.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
he's the guy just outside of town here, or whatever. And I haven't.
There is another guy closer to your place.
Yeah.
That, but he works on the vans, but all anything
vans?
The VW vans, VW and Mercedes. So it's all import. But he's supposed to. He was the next guy I was going to call.
Oh, yeah.
There's a guy 2 doors down, or like from our street.
Yeah.
Just past.
That may be the guy. I can't remember his business.
He does all just foreign
stuff. Yeah.
You got to specialize,
and he's very good.
Yeah,
that's I think that's probably the guy.
Stuff like mechanic wise. Yeah. Anything, the more specialized you can get, and as long as there's a big enough market, specialization is where everything is.
Yeah,
like I will never take my stuff to a dealer.
A dealer, no.
Like that.
Not even a Volkswagen dealer.
No.
Oh, really?
Never happened. I had I still have a Jetta. Okay, and so it qualified for that upgrade to. Because they were fraudulent in their representation of the amount of emissions that they had. So to get it back up to the proper spec, it was $2,500 to get this thing together and the like. And they did it, and then they give me $2,500. And I thought, well, okay, it's free $2,500. So I went to the dealership and I talked to him, and he says, yeah, we can do this, but there is a rule behind this, and that is that it has to leave the dealership according to spec. Like you can't just have this done and here's your check for $2,500. And he says, honestly, I mean, he was a nice enough guy, I guess. He said there's a fair chance, given the age, that you're going to have to replace this part, whatever it was. I don't think it was the catalytic converter, because it's a diesel or whatever, but whatever component it was. And I said, how much is that? And he says $3,000. And I go, okay. So I did not get that done. What I was going to do, and because I had done all the research before, I wanted to delete the whole thing, so that it get all of that pollution stuff off of there, and so that my Jetta would last longer, you know. Now, so what I was going to do, I was going to go to the dealer. They give me the upgrade, which is actually a downgrade, and then I was going to go just 50 miles to these guys, and then they were going to delete the whole thing. So I get a free $2,500, right? But then when I found out about it, I said from the dealer, I said, "Well, no, they're what these. I think it. I don't know what they call it, a catalytic converter or some sort of thing that's in your exhaust or whatever. These guys when they deleted it, they just put a straight pipe through the whole thing.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So why am I going to buy a $3,000 thing only for them
To put a pipe through
an hour
it.
and a half later to put a pipe in it? And so I just left it. The dealer didn't get any work out of it, and I brought it to these guys, and they deleted the whole thing. And now I've been driving it probably for 250,000 K with it deleted. The only thing different, well, first of all, I suddenly got better fuel economy, not by much, probably about 15-20%, something like, which is
That's a lot.
That's a fair bit. It doesn't give me a whole lot of savings. I just go faster now. But anyway, but what it does do is it has a different sound to it.
Oh, that I believe.
It's
throatier.
It's
breathing better.
It's a baw.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds more like not a tractor, but very close to it, and it has more soot, obviously, in the back. Like so, if I don't idle it in the garage, because it would be full of soot, kind of a thing, and the smell. The smell
it's
of
richer.
diesel. It's much richer. Yes.
Oh, okay.
And so, but the fuel economy is much better. The power is much better, and it's smoother. It's like the engine, the whole thing. I got just under 400,000 Ks on it now. 398 or something like that, or 97. I just did an oil change on it yesterday or day before, and if I get it to 500,000, well, right now that thing has paid for itself 4 or 5 times over, because I use personal vehicle log, non-taxable benefits for it. So it's paid for itself. So if it burns down to the ground, I'm still way ahead. I'll just buy another one like it if I can find one. But realistically, if I think I can easily get 500,000 Ks out of it, and maybe even 6. I don't know. There was a number of years ago, somehow or other, I got gas in my tank, rather than diesel.
Oh.
And it stopped. It did some damage to the tank. Now, I don't think I did it. I have no idea who did it. It's a little bit of a mystery. It went through insurance, actually. It was a $8,000 claim, because they had to take the engine apart, put it back together again, and I got pictures of the thing, and he says there's a little bit of damage here, but it's immaterial. You should be okay, and showed me where everything was, and it should be fine. Realistically, it should not, wherever the damage was, it should not, I guess you would say, lower the age that I can drive it. How many?
Okay. Get the mileage.
Did they replace injectors?
They replaced a lot. I think the cylinders and pistons and stuff like that. It was driving all of a sudden, went ear.
Oh.
And
it seized up.
Something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
So I had to get it towed in there, and they said, "Oh yeah, we get big damages." So I don't know. I went through all of my receipts from fuel and stuff like this. It was all diesel, diesel, and just all of a sudden, I have no idea.
Interesting.
But it's one of those mysteries I'll never find out or whatever. But now I have it deleted, and I think probably in the future, I love diesels. I just like your vehicle is probably my dream vehicle, because it's more of an SUV.
Yeah,
a Jetta is low to the ground.
Yeah,
and I get better fuel economy.
Yes,
but
you do. Yeah.
I am lower to the ground. The older we get, the higher we want the vehicle. Yeah, because we don't want to crawl our way out of there.
To come up to our butt, not go down to the seat.
But I would probably slow down a little bit more. If I had one that was a little bit higher, but no, I love diesels, and I not a big fan of diesel trucks, because like highway tractors, yes, that's what. No, but I mean like GMC or anything like that. Those they haven't really perfected them enough for me. I know Alan has a very, very nice one, a GMC Sierra. Everything like he lets go of the wheel and it drives itself.
Oh my goodness!
You know,
oh wow!
And I go like, no, I'm not. I'm too much old school for that, you know. And it's a great thing. But it one of those things like he gets to a stop sign or a traffic light, and if it stops, the engine turns off.
Oh yeah, you can switch that off.
Yeah. And then you start again, and it immediately starts and goes. Yeah. You know, that to me
on a diesel.
Yeah, on a diesel.
Wow, I didn't know a diesel had that option. I thought
that would irritate me something fierce.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah,
we rented a SUV in Ireland. That was a diesel with like that.
Yeah,
and you just hit the switch and then it doesn't do that.
It doesn't do that. Oh, yeah. I'd have to hit the switch because it would.
My son,
my
daughter and son-in-law, they've got a SUV. Theirs is can't remember the brand now.
Toyota.
But it's Toyota, yeah.
But
it's a hybrid, right? So they come on the yard and the motor's not running.
Yeah.
And then all you hear is gravel crunching. You go, what the heck?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're here.
Yeah.
And then they leave, and then maybe halfway down the driveway, the engine kicks on and starts charging the batteries. And just randomly while you're driving, all of a sudden the motor turns off and
that's
turns on.
That's a true hybrid where you're basically it's electric wheels, right?
And everything's electric, and the engine manages your batteries.
I just wonder what length, how many miles can you get out of something like that? What's the true benefit?
A friend of mine borrowed my pickup to go to Quebec. He was moving to Alberta.
Oh yeah,
and so he gave us his Lexus hybrid.
Oh yeah,
we did like 4.8, 4.950 liters to 100 kilometers.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Like driving in town, it'd just be on battery. You hear this humming noise.
Yeah. Lexus. That's what Shri has.
A what?
It's a Lexus.
It's a Lexus.
Yes.
That's Toyota.
Yeah.
No. Lexus is Lexus.
Lexus. Wow. Okay.
Is it Toyota?
I understood it's the high-end version
you know
of the
Toyota
Highlander.
Corolla and a Lexus are I think it's a Toyota Corolla, but it's on a Toyota line. It's not a separate building.
I didn't know that.
At least that's what I learned back in 1990s. Maybe they changed it since then. But there was
once you add all the bells and whistles to a regular Toyota, then you get a Lexus.
There you go. Change the thing in the back. Yeah.
I don't like vehicles. They're A to B to me. That's all that I care for them. Anyway, well, we're talking about nothing now. Well, we got to get our mind free of politics.
Yeah.
Yes.
Otherwise,
something more.
Otherwise, I don't know.
I just gets
people. Yeah. We got to have. That's one thing. If we learn what we're supposed to learn, in my opinion, we don't lose friends from politics. Politics should never cause people to lose friends.
No.
Right.
Differing of opinion by all means, but I think we have to learn that as a society.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just be polite. In the United States, there's so much passion there. There's so much, get off my property and independent. I like that. Very independent minded on there.
Yeah.
But some of them are a little bit rabid.
Some of that arrogance is coming back, which I was glad it went away.
Arrogance of what?
The Americans.
I
They like back in the day, American people were very arrogant, and that changed. They became more easier to get along with, and now that Trump is back in, now I'm starting to find the arrogance is coming back.
They are very protective of their like, for instance. They packed up all of those Venezuelan cartel guys or whatever, gangs or whatever, and they flew them to El Salvador or whatever. And the majority of people are for that. Yeah. Like they get them out of there. And they actually there was something like 67-69% of the people, all illegal immigrants should be gone. Not just the bad guys, all of them. And I thought, wow, that's That's a lot more. I thought it was a little bit more like 50-50, you know, but because some guys have been illegal immigrants, you know, for 30 years.
Yeah.
You know, they want everybody out. That's right out there.
Yeah.
That is not that's gone the spectrum over. But the thing that I can't understand why the Democratic Party is trying to get the gang members back into the United States.
That doesn't make sense.
Are they nuts?
Wasn't that just one judge?
Well, I know, but they're doing they're orchestrating it behind the scenes, like Schumer and everybody else. Like we got to fight them. Fight them for what? Why don't you just fight them on principle? Yeah. Sure, but don't fight them just for the sake of fighting.
Well, Schumer resigned now too.
Did he resign?
Yep.
He didn't. When?
Oh,
last week.
Oh no,
Chuck Schumer?
Yep.
Yeah, he resigned last week.
Oh, that.
Well, you're up on the news then. I want to find
because of that one statement that he made right after that judge ordered that plane back.
Yeah.
He made some kind of a statement, and he was under a lot of hot water.
Well, I know he's trying to defend the undefendable. Wait a minute. Or is it?
Was it Chuck Schumer?
Because I don't think, because I watched something yesterday and Chuck Schumer was still pounding the air saying, we got to get, stop Trump. Well, okay, stop him on stuff that, like tariffs. Tariffs, I don't know.
Is Chuck Schumer the old guy?
Yeah, the old guy.
Okay, this guy always wears his glasses down on his nose.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
Chuck Schumer. He resigned.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Oh, we'll see it. We'll find out. We'll fact check this.
Fact check it. That's
what fighting for the sake of fighting, and that's all that they're really doing.
Yeah.
Like, why in the world would you want drug dealers and gangs, like murderers, thieves, rapists, the whole? Why would say no? You bring them back to our country. What kind of an idiot does that?
I don't know.
Like, they're just it has got to be like it doesn't make sense. It really does not make sense.
No.
I mean, you have to then take everything else that they're doing and you say, you know what? If you're that stupid on that thing, I don't trust you on anything.
Yeah.
You just go home, and because it's the same thing here in Canada. Like, I mean, if our news organizations flat out lie, then yes, you know what? I don't trust anything that they say.
Yeah, but they wouldn't lie to the Canadian people.
No. Okay, I got a quick question in regards to Doug Ford. Okay, remember when he responded to Trump with electric tariffs?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
And he said he was pretty bold. Mm-hmm. I questioned it. Okay, and I was wondering, okay, how are you going to do? Like, 'cause the guy's got to go in with a plan, right?
Yeah.
And then it was, what was it? The next day he dropped it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was because Trump said, well, okay, if you're going to tax us 25%, I'm going to do another 25% on the aluminum, another 25% a year, and just overloaded on everything.
Yeah.
And so back down.
Okay, my question is, it was Doug Ford just being political and not
That's going toe-to-toe with Trump.
Yes, but did he not? Like, how much do our government think ahead? Well, no, then we're going to do this. Oh, well, you would did it caught him off guard? Like, you didn't think 24 hours ahead? No. Like, you know who you're dealing with?
No,
like,
they don't, because Trump is really not a politician. No. He is a deal maker.
Right.
And he goes toe to toe in deal making. And politicians only know politics. Well, if you're going to do that, well, I'm going to file this form, and then that's going to happen to effect on you, and then 6 months later this is going to happen. No, this guy deals with immediate stuff right now. Well, if you're going to do that, then I'm going to do that. Yeah. Wham! Like, what? Oh, that's why he keeps everybody on base. And that's why you can't go toe to toe with this guy.
Right.
It's foolishness, unfathomable foolishness.
And I understood that, and I'm wondering how far ahead thinking that Doug Ford did, because it seems he's been doing some smart things. Like why did he make that move and then rescind it? Is there a plan for that? Like otherwise you're just a real idiot.
Well, he is an idiot.
Well, I'm the
he could-
stereotypical Canadian that thinks, no, he's a nice guy. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but Canada,
We gotta-
one of the biggest thing that Canada does, and it's not just Ontario, it's also Manitoba, and we have electric power.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
And so if you want to put a tariff on the United States, yes. But if you escalate, it's no different than having a fight with your wife.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
There are things that you can say that would be wonderful, you know?
Yeah.
But you know you're going to pay for it 1,000 times later
Sure.
afterwards.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so you hold your tongue.
Yeah.
And realistically, Ford did not hold his tongue.
No.
He said, no, you're going to do that, I'm going to do this.
Well, that's
then
what
you're
I'm
gonna do that,
thinking.
I'm going to do this. Boom, boom, boom.
Okay.
And the whole thing is totally out of proportion.
I've been thinking about this way too much, maybe. Would a smarter thing not have been for Ford to say, you know what, that's the way you want to play ball. We're going to drop our electricity price 15% on all Canadians that we ship to. First of all, he gets bonus points because he knows
What would that have to do with Trump?
nothing. But he's building rapport with Canadians.
Well, I don't think
Okay.
he just got elected. He didn't need.
No,
Ford
I know
needed
that,
a
but that
rapport in Ontario.
it's on the electric side, and
How would that affect Trump?
it wouldn't right away, but Ford would then have more Canadians looking at him and saying, oh, maybe he's thinking ahead. How are we going to deal with Trump? See, that would buy him votes down the road for whatever he might do.
Okay, you know the only organization really that can deal with Trump is the federal,
Yeah.
and he's a provincial,
Right.
And so his hands are tied.
Okay, but he tried
he
pissing
tried
up
to do
against that
stuff.
tree.
Yeah, but he's shooting his
He
mouth
got
off all the
You can't-
time.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the power to follow through on things
So-
like a federal government would.
No, but he did have authority to put
I don't know if he.
a tariff on the electric. Otherwise,
The
why
only
would
reason he did is because the province of Ontario owns Ontario Power.
Right. Yeah.
They have the switch on or off.
Yeah.
And so you say, okay, we're just going to bump our
Yes.
our rates up.
Yeah. So
And really,
okay,
but that's
but
antagonistic.
it is. Yeah, but okay, he knows that he's going to be getting into a pissing match with a very big guy, and
I
you
think-
want more friends on your side. So okay, Canadians, this is what we have to do. They're not playing fair. We're going to do even better here.
Instead of Ford trying to do something himself,
Yeah.
realistically what he has to do is he has to the best of his ability, make sure that somebody in the federal government gets elected that is actually going to be able to work with Trump, because I don't think that the province the province can have a relationship like Danielle Smith has a
Yep.
relationship with
Yep.
Trump, okay,
Yep.
because she has something there of value, but Danielle Smith related with Trump and say, okay, we're going to work with this, we're going to do this, and was much more conciliatory and respectful to Trump, but going toe to toe with Trump, like Ford, that's
No,
that
I
is the bad approach. That is telling your wife,
That dress makes you look
that dress
beautiful.
makes you look fat. You can't say some things like
Yeah.
I mean you like
No.
you don't go toe to toe with your wife, and you don't go toe to toe with your
And
with Trump.
that was my I guess that's my question. Like,
It's a
is
federal
he?
it's a federal issue, and
But
the
I
federal
think-
government, the federal liberal government, has no intention of negotiating anything with Donald Trump. Zero,
No.
because any conflict with Donald Trump gets them into power,
See, but what
and they will always keep Trump as an adversary,
I think
and to the detriment of the entire country.
they're stirring a lot of hatred into the Canadian people.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing, and that's not good.
Yeah.
That's not good.
But
We can't go there.
See, and that's where I guess maybe the basis of my question was,
If we united together as the people,
yeah.
we could pull everybody out of power. But you can't get 5 people to unite on anything. Like somebody asked me a little while ago, do you think the convoy would work again? I said, never again. Never again. You'll not get anybody together, and no, that's a one-time issue or deal, and we're beyond that. We got to come up with something else.
If the federal government acts like the fuel tax department in Ontario acts arrogantly, that we know better than anybody else and stuff like this, it will split our country.
Yes, it will.
Because we cannot operate like 1960s anymore.
No. I guess the basis of my question was, would it not work to return good for evil?
Correct. Well, it's
Okay. See, and that's why I was thinking, like, look, you start getting in a pissing match. Danielle Smith didn't do that. She went there and dealt with him face to face. Let's work this out.
She
right?
came in humility.
Yes.
Her
and
O'Leary.
realizing, you know what, we this is what we need. I know you'd like this.
Yeah.
How can we work this
Correct.
out? You know.
Yeah. I'm wondering if that's why he pushed the tariffs up to April 2nd.
Oh, you know what?
There's so many things going on. I think we only know maybe 10%.
Oh,
you're probably right.
Because realistically, United States needs Alberta oil more than we need to sell it to them.
Yep.
I mean, all what tariffs do is it reevaluates our own position. Like like for instance, if there's tariffs on electricity going into the northern United States, well, what's the United States going to do? They're going to start their own power grid. They're going to increase their power grid, and suddenly we can't sell it to them anymore.
Yeah.
It's no different than with Alberta oil. What happens? Well, then we'll just do a pipeline that goes all the way to the East Coast, and then we'll ship our LNG to Europe, and our oil here, and we'll sell less and less to the United States. So tariffs is a bad thing, and he says tariffs are a good thing, but that's a 100-year-old philosophy, and you have to pick and choose what you want. I think putting tariffs on aluminum is ridiculous because you're picking on a country like Canada who has a competitive advantage on making aluminum. And so why are you're picking on that? Well, maybe if there was some sort of strategic reason for it, like the chip industry, for instance, having it in China and Taiwan, that's a bad thing because if sooner or later the world is going to go to war with China. So you got to get your chips back into.
Well, if you
United States.
extrapolate on that, okay, Trump's idea is possibly that, look, why are we so tied to this country? Like I just heard a thing the other day. Apparently 60% of the U.S.'s imported oil comes from Alberta.
Oh yeah.
The heavy crude. Okay, I don't know about the rest, but so they're very dependent on that. And the way I've seen and watched what I understand Trump is doing is he doesn't like it when you're dependent on something. Because I'm running my country, and now all of a sudden they turn the tap off. Oh, and now they're turning this off. Oh, and there's turning, you've got no internal power. You put a tariff on all of this stuff, it becomes more financially viable to build it in-house.
Yeah.
Okay. The tariff isn't for someone else. It's to make it more equitable for building it in-house. I can understand it.
It is a point,
but it's like we can't we can't oppose, or we can't deal with the $3 a day rates that China pays for their manufacturing labor. We just can't. So that we have to put a tariff on some of that stuff.
There's some things that should be just delegated to friendly nations. Like if you can get $3 an hour out of China,
yeah,
get them to build whatever, but just so long as whatever they build, we're not dependent on that. Because
exactly.
At some point in time, we have to.
And I think that's Trump's mind frame behind all of this.
That is, but there's something else, and this has to do with what I listened to what Steve Bannon once said. The biggest problem, really the biggest problem that U.S. has right now is their trillions of dollars in debt. Mm-hmm. It is not at all possible for them to pay it back. The only way that they can make it manageable is if they grow their own economy so much that their income that they have can service it, because they're right at the tipping point right now. I remember in 1996 when I was in we took macroeconomics in my MBA class, and we took a look at whatever at the time $8 or $9 trillion worth of debt at the time, and we ran the numbers and we said, okay, based on this, it's just a matter of time before the United States implodes, and they can't, because they can't service that anymore. Oh, well, what is it? 30 years later, we have $37 trillion, 4 or 5 times, four times more, and it is not possible for them to get out of debt. And the only long-term solution for the United States is when they do collapse, they have to have as much manufacturing in their own country as they can. So he's bringing it all in as much and as fast as it's just for the long-term preservation of the country.
Well, that makes sense.
It does.
He's building for his country.
He's building for his country. But what do we do as a country? Nothing.
Yeah.
We just keep spending and throwing it out and pretending next year is going to be the same as this year. No, because our debt, we can't service that debt either.
No.
And realistically, the entire globe is in a financial crisis that they haven't fully woken up to yet. And
in order to fix the problem for Canada, our government needs to pull down regulations and allow companies in Canada to produce at a rate that other countries want to. Like you said, our LNG.
I think
get that going. We're really good competitors because, and our electricity. We've got a good power source, a cheap power source, a consistent that we can use that to reduce the cost of our aluminum at least.
We are a resource-based country,
right?
And the United States is a consumer based country. We have if you look 50, 100 years in the future, in theory, we should be better off than the United States because our population is low versus the resources that we have. Maybe that's why Canada is appealing to Trump, because there's a lot of resources that we could bring into under an umbrella. But realistically,
but that's what our federal government is for.
Who cares if we have all this unbelievable resources if our federal government says, no, you can't do that, no, you can't do that, no, you can't do that,
exactly.
no, you can't, and if you do that, you have to fill out these 3,000 forms first, and that's it. And so if everything is restricted, we can't grow out of it. Our productivity.
3,000 forms and a 20-year environmental study.
Yeah.
There's other countries. Yeah, exactly. There's other countries that are probably worse off than even the United States. Like, for instance, Japan. Japan does not have enough resources to support their own country. They have to, for instance, they don't have any steel, they don't have any gas, they don't have any coal. They have to bring in all of the raw materials in order for them to make something to produce any kind of value. Whereas we're the exact opposite. We have resources, and we can do anything we want. It's just that we can't do anything because our government doesn't allow us to do anything on there. So we're a great country, but who cares how great we are is if the government overtaxes us and in the end doesn't allow us the freedom to build and create value anywhere. So anyway, well, now that we've solved all of the problems of our country, and I hope we've been, if nothing else, we've helped you kill a couple hours driving down the road. And the like, but I appreciate your attendance here. If you've listened all the way right to the end, and boy, I tell you, when it comes to the election, just get a friend or two or individuals who otherwise is not thinking about our country, and you just sort of parroting whatever the media is saying or whatever. Get them to think. Engage people to
ask questions.
Ask questions.
Yeah, get them
and get people engaged to say, okay, why exactly are you leaning towards this individual as a political leader? That's for sure. That's what we're. Hopefully, what happened in the next 40 days, and then we'll see what happens. So
let's just stay friendly Canadians.
Yeah, friendly Canadians. We should not split up into huge divisions or whatever, if at all possible. Anyway, we should all be.
I'm not a fan of elbows up, even in hockey. No. Keep your elbows down. Play good hockey. Yeah.
Keep your stick on the ice.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Watch out. I'm gonna
green. Yeah. Keep your stick on the ice.
They might not find you handsome, but they will find you handy.
That's it.
Yeah. I went to one of his shows once. He was He was in Winnipeg. Yeah, big guy. He's a very funny guy. Good Canadian humor.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right. Other than that, have yourself a great trip. See you next time.